Welcome everybody to our council meeting today. It's 7:08 p.m. June 15, 2021. Calling meeting to order. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Can you guys please remain standing for a moment of silence for our first responders and military members? Thank you. Monica, could we get a roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Soto?
Present.
Councilmember Moran?
Present.
Councilmember King?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia? Mayor Aguilar?
Present.
For the record, Mayor Pro Tem Garcia is not in attendance, but his absence is excused.
I believe he was in an emergency call with his other employment. Thank you, Monica. And council, any changes to the agenda? I believe there's one under, I know, what's that? Ramirez, item number 7 was, that was our Mayor Pro Tem Garcia, right, item? Since he's not here, we're gonna probably table that item number 7. Any other changes, council? Okay, there's no more. Now we're going to move on to our words, presentations, and proclamations. We have 2. The first one, presentation by Maria Soto, Coordinator, Ms. Independence Scholarship Program, introduction of Ms. Independence Scholarship Court. And she's going to go ahead and introduce each one of the ladies. Go ahead, Maria.
Good evening. In about 2010, Livingston had a Miss Livingston program that was brought to us by the local VFW post 8327. And my daughter, Angelique, reigned from 2009 all the way up until about 2016, where the 4th of July Committee revived this program, and we decided that we wanted to call it Miss Independence. So again, providing a more leadership role to young ladies in the community and to provide more empowerment to women so that as our youth grew, our women, our young ladies grew into our community, that they would have a sense of being a part of it and that they would provide community service throughout in the service communities that we, and the service clubs that we do have, and that we provide that service primarily to our local VFW and to veterans throughout the county. And so it came to it that I wanted to be able to provide a scholarship to our Miss Independence. There were only 2 categories, was the Junior Miss Independence and the Miss Independence. And it grew, and I was super proud of that, knowing that there are young ladies in our community that want to provide a role model based on some of their community service. And that, again, was part of the criteria when they applied, was the integrity of their community service project. And this year I want to go ahead and introduce them because I'd like our community to recognize, and it's been a slow-moving process, even though that we've been here actively since 2016 with 2 young ladies, and then this past year we now have 4. 4th one is not here tonight, but I'll go ahead and mention her name. And again, there are some photos up here. I do have some more photos that these young ladies do on behalf of the veterans and the community service projects they do on their own through school and the projects and events that the city does provide. I'd like for them to be utilized just a little bit more because they are there. They are a great resource because they can go back to their schools and tell everybody else, hey, there's this great thing going on, and it's community service. If you need those hours, this is how you can help. This is how you can serve our veterans by being at the Veterans Hall, attending the meetings. They want to have that kind of a interaction with our youth and our veterans. So tonight, I'd like to present to you Miss Lauren Franzese. She is our reigning 4-year Miss Veterans Independence. And right here we have Junior Miss Independence, Isabella Rea. And then we have Miss Independence Teen Council, Miss Madeline Moreno. And again, if you have any questions, and regarding the scholarship program, you do have to be junior high age, 14-ish, all the way up until you graduate to high school, depending how long you want to be committed to the Miss Independence Court. So, ladies, here's your opportunity. They're going to say a little bit about what they do and what they've, well, whatever they'd like to share with you. Go ahead, over here.
Can I take off my mask? Good evening. My name is Lauren Franzese, if you don't know me already, and I'm currently serving as a Miss Veteran Independence. This is my 4th year, and I have loved every moment of it. My community service project is I'm creating a video regarding college admissions. If you do not know, recently I was accepted at Stanford University, and I'll be attending in the fall. It has been, oh, thank you. Thank you. It has been about 16 years since the last student in Livingston High School has gotten into and attended Stanford University. 16 years. The reality is that we need college admissions advice and counseling at our school, and I hope to bring that to my community. This past year, I've helped students with their college applications, and they have received admissions and will be attending UC Berkeley and other colleges throughout California. But I want to create a video that will allow easy access to teachers in this community regarding the middle school and even the high school in order for them to better understand how to apply for college and, you know, get into really competitive colleges, because we don't have that type of access here in Livingston to attend and get into these really competitive colleges. So I hope that my community service project will be able to help inform students, because teachers can share this video and we'll be able to have more acceptances to top 5, top 10 universities throughout the nation and the world. If you would like to help me, or if you know any teachers that would like this video once it's produced, you can contact me at laurenf20@gmail.com. Thank you for your support, and I greatly appreciate it.
Good evening. My name is Madeline Moreno, and I'm a junior at Livingston High School. This is my first year being a part of this program, the Miss Independence Veterans Hall Community Program. And I'm also a part of another program in Livingston called LTAC, advised by Mr. Moran, which represents my title, Miss Independence Teen Council. I've been a part of the Christmas Parade, Memorial, and Easter service, Bunko fundraiser, and other community service opportunities. And Maria and the other girls have made this opportunity so welcoming, so positive. It's definitely a program I'd recommend to other teen girls that are looking for more responsibility, to improve their social skills, community skills. I love being a part of anything I could possibly be a part of. I'm involved in high school with leadership and many other clubs. I look forward to my further involvement in the club, and I plan on being a part of it till my senior year, which is next year. Thank you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Isabella Raya. I'm 13 years old, and I am the Miss Junior Independence. What I do is I volunteer at the VFW's monthly burger night and other functions that have to do with it. Before COVID, I was working on my purple belt in Camp Scrimmage through the city's recreational department's martial art class. I am also a member of the Santo Niño Filipino Organization of Livingston, where I am a folk dancer. I am also an incoming freshman at the high school, where I will be joining the girls' golf team. Community projects I'm interested in are community cleanups. My family and I volunteered for a cleanup day back in February, which was organized by Councilmember Moore, and it was very rewarding. After high school, I plan on studying mortuary science in Sacramento. Thank you.
I'd like to take a few extra minutes of your time. This past year, the Miss Independence Court, they won a state regional, or district, I want to say, award for their contribution in a design of a centerpiece. It's beautiful. I had a picture of it, but I don't believe I have it on this board. But they did receive this from our district for winning the championship. So congratulations. Thank you. Should pin it on you. And they got also a little trophy as well. I'd also like to present another award for our group, but I'd also like to take a few minutes, if you don't mind, Mayor, for our girls. And this is what they typically do, is that when they attend events, they hand out poppies. Would you like to explain what our poppies are?
I public speak a lot. Does someone else want to do it? I'll let someone first. Don't worry. I graduated. Not yet.
Okay, so far, every single event that I've attended, a girl is designated to handing out the poppies, and they basically represent the service that the veterans have provided to us in our country, and it's a very good honor. I'm so blessed to be able to firsthand experience these opportunities. If I wasn't involved in this program, I probably wouldn't understand the true meaning behind this event and the many events we attend. It's an honor, and it should be acknowledged by everyone in Livingston. And as Maria continues to grow this, the girls within this program, it's going to mean a lot more, and it's going to be acknowledged more than just Livingston, and hopefully even girls within the high school will know about it. Right now we're not in school, so the girls at the high school, we don't do service there, but eventually it'd be an honor too.
Thank you, Maddie. So our buddy poppies, they do represent the blood that was shed for our heroes in the military, okay? We do also have veteran suicide awareness handkerchiefs that I would like the girls to pass out along with the magnets. Again, soldiers that come back, or veterans that come back, suffer from many of the after effects like PTSD, anxiety, pain, and again, 22 veterans die a day because they are prescribed opioids as their painkiller. there are safer alternatives for this, and we're pretty much aware of what that could be in our community. There are toy soldiers that we have that I'd like the girls to also hand out to the audience here. And the toy soldiers, if you receive one from someone that is acting on behalf of veterans, it means that we should pray for our veterans and those that are our first responders and out there on the front lines. We also have some little koozies for water bottles and some stickers if we have children in the crowd, and little dog tags. But right now, Miss Lauren Francis, she's been with me since 2017, 4 years. That's why she's Veteran Miss Independence. We made the title a little bit longer for her because she has year after year come through on many occasions to serve, and her public speaking is right on. Again, I am so proud of the fact that she is going on to Stanford. And part of what the Miss Independent Scholarship does is that upon the completion of her community service, she's working towards it. But before she goes off to Stanford, and I want to miss her, she's going to come back. She has to come back. I want to go ahead and present her with her scholarship award, which is the $1,000 going towards whatever she needs to move forward in her endeavors. So congratulations, Lauren. And I forgot to introduce the fourth gal. She is Miss Independence, Miss Genevieve Baptista. She's not here tonight because she has school obligations tonight that she is mandatory in order for her to make the team. Okay?
This time, they're going to take a couple minutes to pass out the different things they're passing out right now at this time. So give us a couple minutes.
Can I say something real quick? As part of the Merced Union High School District, we are very proud to have Lauren graduate from our high school and represent us at Stanford University. You did a great job, lots of community service, and the other girls, I'm sure they'll do the same, but congratulations, you've done a great job. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. We're going to move on to our second item under awards presentation and proclamation. Is regarding a proclamation declaring June 2021 as Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Awareness Month. This resolution states as the following. Whereas the post-traumatic stress disorder affects people of all ages and can occur after a person experiences trauma, including but not limited to stress of combat, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, bombings, accidents, and natural disasters, and affects approximately 8 million people in the U.S. PTSD associated with chemical changes in the body hormonal system. Brave men and women of the U.S. Armed Forces who proudly serve the nation and risk their lives to protect our freedom deserve the investment of every possible resource to ensure their lasting physical, mental, and emotional well-being. Between 10 and 30% of service members will develop PTSD within a year of leaving combat. Despite its treatability, many cases of PTSD remains undiagnosed and treated due to a lack of awareness of this condition and the persistent stigma associated with mental health conditions. Raising awareness of this condition is necessary to remove the stigma and encourage those suffering to seek proper and timely treatment. All citizens suffering from PTSD deserve our consideration, and those who are affected by PTSD from wounds received while protecting our freedom deserve our respect and special honor. Now therefore be it resolved, the City Council of the City of Livingston recognizes June 2021 as Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Month to bring awareness to those with PTSD and to encourage people to reach out to their fellow citizens to provide support and remove the stigma associated with the disorder. And be it further resolved that we all, upon our citizens, public and private institutions, business and schools, recommit our state to increase awareness and understanding of PTSD and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with PTSD to promote recovery. Thank you. Now we're going to move on to announcements and reports. Do we have our supervisor here? Rodrigo Espinosa? No, he's not in attendance. We're going to move on to city staff announcements and reports.
Yeah, we'll start off with Public Works. Anthony? I know Brian is anxious to come up as well, so you're next.
Good evening. Good evening, council, members of the public. Anthony Chavarria, Public Works. Council, I received my proposals back for the Lucero playground equipment, so I just wanted to go over them with you. So this is what the Lucero playground looks like currently. This is the footprint that is taken up. The equipment is 20 plus years old. Replacement equipment is no longer made for that equipment. We currently do have broken equipment there, such as the slides you're aware of. They no longer make, so we can't just go and buy a slide and install. They don't. They make it different now, the style. And they do it on purpose, just so we have to buy more equipment later. So I did reach out to 3 different vendors, manufacturers: Ross Recreation Equipment, All About Play, Miracle Play Systems. Each manufacturer did provide 2 different options. All quotes include installation, delivery, and taxes. All About Play was the only firm that did submit proposals that will fit in our current play box. Staff will be responsible to demo the existing equipment and to prep it for the installer. Here's the first proposal from Ross, $47,505. Did want to point out that this is our current play box. It's a concrete border. So in order for us to, for this equipment to fit, we would have to expand the current box. What that entails is staff removing about 3 feet of native soil within all this area, removing an existing concrete form here, the curb here, the edging, repouring additional concrete all through here, and rerouting irrigation lines, capping, moving. It's quite extensive. Here's proposal number 2 from Ross, $76,452. Again, this is our current play box size here. Again, this would require an expansion of the box, play box as well. All this area right here, doing the same thing, having to remove the existing concrete edging here, forms here, report concrete, remove 3 feet of existing native soil to prep and reroute irrigation lines. Miracle proposal number 1, $43,584. We're looking at the same thing, expansion of the box. Pretty large box that would have to be expanded as well to accommodate that. Miracle proposal number 2, $64,442. This will be an expansion. This is current size. They're showing this piece of equipment that would need to be expanded. All About Play, option 2, revision 1, $44,324. This will fit in the current play box. All About Play, option 2, revision 2, $44,059.57. And this will also fit in the current play box without having to reroute irrigation lines and expansion and pouring concrete. Staff does recommend All About Play proposal number 2. No expansion of the play box would be necessary, no rerouting of irrigation lines, pouring concrete, and the park's not heavily used. Equipment funding would come from LMD Parks budget. Be happy to answer any questions, or if council has any ideas, recommendations, if council's in agreement with staff's recommendations or would like to see something different.
I think at this time, since it's not a agenda item, I think it's just overall general questions. But I just want to say thank you for definitely looking into this. I know it's something that was needed, and I know a few citizens in that area had called and requested to look at that. And thank you for acting quickly on that bench as well. I appreciate it. Council, any other questions?
They all look very nice, but very expensive, some of them. When you mentioned that they will be able to be budgeted from the LMDs, is that from that particular LMD?
We could do nearby LMDs that are within the area, or we could do all LMDs. All LMDs have an associated parks budget line just for circumstances like this. We're upgrading, replacing equipment.
Okay, I will reach out to you a little bit later and get more information on that.
Any other questions, Council?
Are you currently seeking any grants
No.
that might provide this? Would Recreation be able to?
We could ask to look into it, but we do currently have funding within the LMDs to accommodate the play structure.
But you're only, like you said, you're using them as a shared money source?
From the parks budget line, yeah.
Not just the Lucero Park, not just the residents right in that?
No. If there's no questions, I would like to move on to the next slide. I did want to inform council of a letter we received from the State Water Resource Control Board. I'll read part of it. With California experiencing its second consecutive dry year, and due to the effects of climate change, we are all reminded that drought planning and conservation are now a California way of life. The first 6 months of water year 2021 rank as the fourth driest on record. With warm temperatures and extended dry conditions, melting Sierra Nevada snow is soaking into parched ground rather than running into reservoirs. On some streams, runoff is lower now than during the critically dry year of 2014-15. These conditions may contribute to reduced yield from your ground and or surface water supply sources, challenges with water quality, and difficulties in meeting normal system demands resulting in water shortages or low pressure during peak demand periods, such as those that normally occur in the late summer and early fall months. Sustained preparation and planning are critical. Most of the California's water systems were able to manage drought impacts and maintain the high quality of water delivered to their customers during the last drought by taking early action. We're taking actions early. And I did want to share a drought map, what we're looking at. So this is Merced County. And we are considered in the D3 category, which is extreme drought. And if you read under here, this is what our area should be experiencing. Fire season last year round. Fires occur in typically wet parts of the state. Burn bans are implemented. Water is inadequate for agriculture, wildlife, urban needs. Reservoirs are extremely low. Hydropower is restricted, and we're seeing that in the news now. Our reservoirs are extremely low. In the presentation, happy to answer any other questions if council has any.
Any other questions, council?
I just wanted to know, about 2 months ago, I brought forth the donation item on behalf of Mr. Alex McCabe. I wanted to know where you were with finding out about the water vending operator license.
I thought I reported back on that and I was waiting for feedback from council, and I've never heard anything. But I did provide the steps that were necessary for the city to move forward and take as far as permitting. We could revisit that again, and I could bring that information back.
If you don't mind, council, I mean, I'd like to provide him with direction so we can get this moving forward so that it is on the agenda.
I think you could bring it up during our council direction or future agenda items.
Okay.
Also, I believe it was last meeting, I had inquired about the cleanup. We were trying to figure out the date of that cleanup was May 10th that occurred over on the property that is owned by Mr. Escobedo.
Yes, and that was a call that I believe our superintendent called the chief to schedule a transient cleanup at Mr. Escobedo's property there. So that's why you seen Public Works there. They were cleaning up an encampment.
And the property just right down this way was also done by Public Works?
No, the property, that small empty lot by the Ireland building, no, Public Works didn't do. I believe that was part of the cleanup that Mr. maybe Moran was helping with or working with. But Public Works didn't clean up that small lot there.
Okay, and so that it's clear, it was because of the transient, that was the superintendent. What superintendent are you referring to? Or is that
Tony,
a chief?
our superintendent, Public Works,
Okay,
Tony Vino.
and that was part of the chief's part of the homelessness?
Yes, Tony contacted
Ordinance.
the chief of police, and they discussed, I guess Mr. Escobedo had issues with the homeless encampment there. So chief, I believe, served them with notice to abate or to move. And then Public Works came in, I believe it's 72 hours to clean up the area.
Okay, so when Public Works goes in there to provide that cleanup, is that part of the abatement process in the ordinance?
That, I'm not sure if it's in the ordinance. I can't answer that.
Mr. Ramirez?
From my understanding, it is part of it, and we'll verify, but it's been like this since the very beginning. Whenever we have a situation, whether it be anywhere in town, that we have to issue a notice, there has to be formal notices issued, and then we go out there and we look at cleaning that particular spot. And we work with the property owners, whether it be the railroad, either railroad or Caltrans, or any other property owners. I don't know of any time where we actually turned around and actually charged the property owners for the abatement there. So the only circumstances where there is charge for some type of abatement would be where we issue notice to the property owner, and it's a specific, like for instance, those homes that we addressed where they were kind of abandoned and there were health and safety issues. We issue notices, and if they don't clean up those particular spots, then we go in there and we clean it, and then we actually issue an invoice to get paid, and we do everything that we can to make sure that we recuperate that money back.
And the same it's not the same firm as the property over there? Was he charged for that service?
No, he wasn't charged for that service, from what I
But
understand.
he was given, what is the turnaround time that he has to clean up that area before you go in and have it authorized to be cleaned up?
Well, what makes this very different, Councilwoman Soto, is that it's a homeless encampment. It's not that it's just debris there that accumulated by itself, or that the property owner themselves deposited that trash there, or somebody else deposited, but it's not tied to an encampment, okay, to homelessness. So we do, and so he called, from my understanding, based on what staff has communicated to me, is that Mr. Escobedo made a phone call to the police department saying, hey, I have these transients here, these homeless folks here, there's some health and safety issues, they're starting some fires, et cetera. How do we address this? So based on that, then there's another process that starts, was a formal process. We can't go in there and just start picking up trash, or because there has to be some type of formal notice. I'm sure that our new chief can communicate a little bit more, since he's here tonight and not Chris, as far as what the actual process is. So, did you want to chime in, Chief Marco?
And I was just going to add real quick, you mentioned it a little bit ago, but I think it does have to do also, the situation might be different due to some safety concerns there, like you mentioned, like fire or something like that.
Mr. Mayor, Council. So once we get the complaint, it becomes a public nuisance, and we give a notice to the people encampment there. It's not the business owner or the homeowner's responsibility to clean up after these people bring in all this debris. And once we give them the notice, they have 72 hours. We come in, we take the removed from the area, asked to leave. We cannot leave the debris there because there's health and safety matters. They've been probably urinating, doing other things, using restrooms. There's dirty food. There's needles sometimes. So we just can't leave it there. We have to do something to clean it up and get it moved on. So it makes a safe area for the community.
So my question is, what is the area used for? It is an abandoned building that hasn't been used in well over 35 years, 30 years. I mean, it's creating a nuisance. And if this happens continuously, why do we continue to have an abandoned building there that does not serve anybody in the community?
So part of that, one of the things that we were very successful in doing, and we're trying to go after some more grant funds, and that's to have a code enforcement officer that they actually can go out, and the city actually did several things. And so let me take a quick moment to outlines some of those things. So we had a code enforcement officer that we got through a grant, and that was Mrs. Lee Holt that was here for us. Unfortunately, we don't have the funding to have even a part-time code enforcer, so it's basically all the different departments working together to try to address different code enforcement issues that pop up in the city. But we did hit some of the major properties, and we used different tools to achieve those. And then, as I mentioned a little earlier tonight, there's specific homes that some of these homes are individuals who are incapacitated mentally, family situations. We work with the banks, we work with the relatives to try to address those. And when they can't be addressed as quickly as possible, then I, as the administrator of this community, make the decision to go in there, and because of health and safety issues, and we clean up or we board up, and then after that, we look at trying to get compensated for that work that we do. And we like to not have to do that, but we have done it over the years since I've been here in 2011. You might recall the one that home off of Peach, and I think it was 2nd Street. I went ahead and told staff, you know what, the situation there is such that we need to address it. And so we went in there and we cleaned it up, and we started building, and we work with the bank, and we recoup funding. This last year and a half, we used a different tool, and I don't know if you remember, and I'm trying to remember the what was the name of the when it goes through the courts? Okay, I forget. All right, now I'm going. Receivership, you would know. Yes, the receivership. Okay, little controversial, etc. But we used that, and so there was 2 properties. They got cleaned up, got sold, etc. One didn't get sold. They went through the court system. But anyways, so there's different mechanisms. It's not as easy as it sounds, but that's what we do.
Thank you so much. I think this this topic could be a good item for future discussion.
Just one more.
Go ahead.
What I understood was that we're not recouping over there on that property because of the encampment, but we try to on the other properties. But if it continues to be a health and safety issue and a continued nuisance, how many times are we going to use city employees and our public works use of those hours and everything to clean up somebody else's property without getting the compensation for it?
So we will certainly visit that item with Mr. Escobedo and see what it is that, that facility but one of the things that makes it very difficult when you have homeless and transient people, and there are different people coming in and out, is where they land and what they do is very difficult. And you kind of seen that firsthand by us visiting down below where the county and the railroad tracks and the city owns property. It's very, very difficult. So it requires a wraparound type of services in order to address homelessness. But thank you for bringing it up, and we'll certainly look into that further, and hopefully we can get another grant for code enforcement so that we can address some of these abandoned buildings.
Thank you so much. It'll definitely be beneficial, but definitely should come in the future agendas for a full discussion and direction. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do you have any other staff members today? Oh, Captain?
Is there a remote up here? Or? Oh, here it is. Good evening, Council, Mayor, members of the public. I've just got a quick report for you guys tonight, so try not to make it too late tonight for you guys. For last month, we had 92 medical aids, which was actually down from this time last year. Last year, we had 113 in May. So our medical aids that went down, we've had 3 veg fires in the city, 4 vehicle accidents, 4 structure fires, 3 debris fires, 2 alarm soundings, and 2 public assist inside the city. County incidents, we had 22 medical aids, 2 of which were code blue, 12 vegetation fires, 26 vehicle accidents, 3 vehicle fires, 9 structure fires, 2 debris fires, 8 alarm soundings, 1 firefighter standby, 5 public assist, and 1 hazmat. So when I was putting these numbers together, one of the things I really noticed was from last year, at the end of May, we were at 720 calls, where this year we're at 862 calls. However, last year did have a little slower start because of COVID. We ran more medical aids, but people were staying home, so we ran less fires and less vehicle accidents. In the city, right now we're at 521 calls. In the county, we're at 341 calls. My volunteers have responded 62% of the time. Within our Livingston's IA, which is the city and the county part that we respond to at first in, we 78% of our calls. And here was an alarming statistic. Our call volume was up 34% from last year at this time. So last year we're just under 2,000 calls for the year. I'm probably predicting around 2,200 this year, if not a little more. So some training, paid staff. We did a hose evolution, drafting, some large diameter hose. The volunteers, they worked on the wildland skills since it's becoming wildland season here for fire. So they did their 10s, 18s. We did fire shelters. We finished up the school inspections before the end of the school year, so they're done for the year. And then some big announcement that the volunteers are pretty excited about putting together is the Pancake Breakfast. It's going to be held July 2nd. Tickets are $8. And if you have some questions, I think Aguilar's leading it for the volunteer department.
It's July 3rd, Saturday.
Oh, sorry, July 3rd. And then just a safety briefing, safety message for us is do not be trying, I know we've talked about other meetings, is illegal fireworks. So I just pulled up some of the ordinance and stuff where California goes. 0 tolerance for sales, use of illegal fireworks. And then there's a list of them, skyrocket, bottle rockets, Roman candles. One of the big things I noticed whenever we're pulling up is that if convicted, violators could face up to a $50,000 fine or up to 1 year in prison. So if you're out there this 4th of July, have fun, but be safe about it. And do you guys have any questions for me?
Thank you, Captain. Any questions, Council?
Just one question.
Yes.
A few days ago, there was, I believe there was a gas pipe break in the city.
Yes, my partner was on it. He told me a little bit about it, but I don't know I know that they're out there for, 6 hours, 4 hours? They're out there for a while.
Yeah, so when something like that happens, I mean, obviously, I know that some nearby residents were like in panic mode. I mean, but because obviously they don't know how or why. But can you give us a little bit of information on?
So I don't know the exact size of the pipe that was broken. I do know that he told me that it was pretty much broken right at the T from the main line and the line going into the house. Most time when those break, seems like most of them are going on is people digging, like putting in a tree or digging out a tree and didn't realize there was a gas line there and they hit it with a shovel. So most time PG&E will come in and they'll pinch the line. However, that one was at the T, the main line, where it broke. And so they had to shut down each side of the main. And so it took longer to do for the gas company to come in and shut it all down. And then they were able to restore, my understanding, gas to almost everybody within, a timely manner. I don't know exactly how long that was. But the 2 houses, the one that was affected by the T, and then one on the right or left, I don't know which one it was shut down for a longer period of time. And then also, whenever we're committed on an incident like that, because we had 2 engines there, I believe, the city was still backfilled with we still had coverage here in the city with another engine covering, so we could respond to calls and stuff. So the public would still have a service, even though we were out there for standby in case of a fire.
All right, thank you.
Not a problem.
Just to add, just a reminder to everybody to dial 811 before you dig. So it lets you know the different pipelines underneath. So 811 before you dig, and I believe they were able to evacuate a few houses until they were trying to figure out what was going on.
Yeah, I believe they evacuated several houses downwind and isolated people from coming in. And then also, if you dial 811 before you dig and there's a line there that was mismarked, you're not liable for paying for the damages because PG&E will charge you for repairing and any gas that escaped. So it's not cheap.
Yeah, so those pipelines could be running gas pretty high volume. So yeah, you'll be responsible to pay for that if it's your fault.
Thank you.
Council, any other questions? Thank you.
Chief Marco?
Mr. Mayor, council members, community. Sorry I'm not as fancy as PowerPoint. I like to talk. So a couple things going on. In my second week, I'm still very happy to be here. And nobody's sent me out the door yet, so I guess that's a good sign. A couple things. If you are interested in setting up a meet and greet with me, please contact me, and we can find a time that you can do a meet and greet with me. We have several set up already that are going to be coming up, which I'm looking forward to, because what better way to get to know me is being able to pick my brain and talk to me and get to know me a little better, and vice versa. Second thing, our explorers have been shut down forever, it seems like, since the inception of COVID. They have going to have their first meeting on June 13th, which is coming up, June 17th, And that way we can get them up and running and get them out volunteering in the community and doing things again. We currently have 20, so if you know anybody that would like to be a explorer with the police department, please send them our way. Next week on the 24th, we're going to have dispatch interviews to try and get us some much needed help because they're running on overtime and working 12-hour shifts. So we're going to try to get our dispatchers' ranks filled and stop the bleeding in that area. I've directed Sergeant Fong, who's in charge of our Facebook, to start doing more positive Facebook posts versus everybody and their brother was just arrested. So as you can see, if you start looking at our Facebook page, you're going to start seeing more positive activity. The only thing we ask is if you do take a photo with us to sign a waiver saying you'll hold us harmless for posting you on Facebook. Because I only have a face for radio, so. Now the hot topic. Fireworks, folks. Fireworks. I'm going to piggyback on the captain. You know, they're pretty to see. They like to go up and go boom and all that stuff. But I've directed every officer in this department to put zero tolerance on fireworks because we are in such high fire danger and drought situations. These fireworks will cause more damage than you know. They'll cause personal injuries. They'll cause injuries to property. If they blow up, I know a few people that lost their fingers because of illegal fireworks. Please, please find alternative ways. Use safe and sound. I just ask you, please quit using the illegal fireworks. Not only do they disturb everybody's peace, they are very harmful to animals and to the elderly. So I'm asking, as your chief of police, please use only safe and sound fireworks and be respectful to the rest of this community. One other project that we're working on is if vehicles are on the street, broken down, cobwebs, trees growing out of them or anything else, officers are in the next few weeks are going to be working on getting those noticed, abated, and moving forward, okay? We need to clean up our city and make it pretty. I'm not saying it's not pretty, but when you have yard cars and they're growing their own garden, it's time for them to be moved, okay? So I've directed officers to go out and do that as well. Last and most important thing, we are up and running and ready for the cooling station. We have water, and our cooling station will be open for anybody and everybody's use at the police department's lobby. Okay? Any questions?
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. I appreciate you being available to the public for your meet and greets. I know we're scheduling one just for general public attendance, hopefully on the 26th, along with our fire personnel. So that's awesome. Council, any other questions?
How comfortable are you with the PAL program?
Very comfortable.
Then I have someone you need to speak to.
Okay. I used to teach martial arts in the PAL program and coach baseball. And real quick to go back, thank you for your service with veterans. Being a current veteran and a current member of the United States military, I appreciate your efforts.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And thank you for the report. Just as you were speaking and you were talking about fireworks, what if there are residents that decide to say, you know what, I don't want to risk it, but I'd rather turn them in, the illegal fireworks, can they feel free to come into the PD and turn them in?
We would prefer you to leave them outside. But preferably, I'd like this guy to get it, or the fire department. But if they do decide to bring them to the police department, please leave them outside, and then we'll take care of them from there. Brian?
Normally, they just drop them off at the police station, they bring them to me. So if you do need to bring some, we do accept fireworks anonymously. We don't ask for any names or anything illegal ones. Then we give them to our prevention officer. They come down, they'll pick them up, and then they'll destroy them.
Yeah.
So.
And there's two actually, Atwater City, right? And Los Baños has the disposal sites actually.
I believe so, but I don't want to quote me on that. I believe you're correct on that.
All right, so everyone knows that if you want to get rid of your illegal fireworks, this is the opportunity before they give you a fine.
Any other questions, Council? Jose, go ahead. Thank you so much, Chief. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Tony, did you want to report anything out today?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, residents. Really quick, we're so grateful to be up and running again in recreation. People are really excited about our soccer signups. We have 2 more left. It does need to be on the specific dates because we are short-staffed. We have 2 dates coming up. June 19th, which is a Saturday, and July 10th will be our last one. Also on a Saturday, both are from 9 to noon. Please come prepared that it will probably take a little bit. Soccer registration has been very busy. And we are still looking for coaches for all divisions. We are one of the only cities that offer programming for 3- and 4-year-olds. So still looking for lots of coaches. And we also have our classes that will start back up in August. We have our ballet and jazz, our karate classes, our Bhangra dance, and we also have a new self-defense class with Krav Maga. And we're super excited, especially with young ladies going off to college. My mom made me take a self-defense class before I went to college, and it is one of those things that sticks with you. So we have all of this information on our Facebook, or you're always welcome to call the office at 394-8830. Also, our co-ed softball, wow, biggest turnout since 2015. I have 8 teams, which will be 4 games on Friday. We do start this Friday. Thank you, Anthony, and all the guys out at Public Works for helping me prepare the fields for that. Mondays, we also have a second night of co-ed. We have 6 teams, which will mean 3 games. So all the adults will be out there having a good time and it'll be a lot of fun. We invite the public to come out and watch. It's a lot of fun. And along with the Safe and Sane fireworks, please support the locals. We have 4 nonprofit groups that will be selling fireworks here in Livingston. Yeah, the big ones are great, but if you can go out and just get something a little more fun for your kids and support the local nonprofits, they do need your support this year, being closed for 2020. There will be 4 locations. One is Rancho San Miguel, one is Mr. Escobedo's site next to Sunshine Donuts, Liberty Market, and the TA parking lot. So again, I will try and post those on our Facebook, but go out and support them and do something at home with your kids. And try not to catch anything on fire. That's it for me, unless you guys have questions, comments.
Thank you, Tony. Council, any questions? Go ahead, Jose.
Go ahead, Jose.
Can you share, so you mentioned there are going to be four locations for the fireworks?
Yes, for the nonprofits.
4 booths, yeah.
Yes.
Can you share who they are and which one is which?
Put me on the spot. Okay. TA parking lot is with the sports club with Happy Banes. Liberty Market is our band boosters. Mr. Escobedo is Livingston Youth Football, and Rancho is the Apostolic Church here in Livingston. I think I got that in the correct order. So you can go out and support any of those. All of these organizations do support all of the Livingston programs, not just recreation, but a little bit of everybody here in Livingston.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Council, any other questions?
Did you have a chance to follow up on the soccer lights from last meeting?
The soccer lights from the last meeting?
The light tower, actually.
And what direction was I given for that? What did you want to know specifically?
I asked the question that the light towers were being transported to the soccer fields to use over there at the Max Foster.
Correct. And you were going to come in and meet with me?
Well, you didn't know the answer at that time, so I thought you would find the answer and report it back.
On who was moving them?
How is it? Yeah, how are they being transported?
By the organization that had requested to use them.
Not by our local public works?
No, not by our local public works.
Why is that?
They had made a request to use our lights for their nonprofit group, and it was signed off on that they were allowed to use it as long as they transported them. And like I said, they do have insurance with the city. They have $1 million policy, so if anything happens, they are covered. Did you need some more information on that?
No.
Okay.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it.
Okay, you're welcome.
Any other staff? Was that? No? Okay. We're going to go ahead and move on to city manager announcements and reports.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and Council and esteemed public, a few items to report. First of all, as you guys have been acutely aware of, with the governor and talking about June 15th and getting rid of the tiers and trying to bring a little bit more normalcy. So I had an opportunity to speak to Dr. Sandoval, who is the head of our, Merced County Health Department. And in my conversations with Mr. Sandoval, I asked him, a series of different questions. So as it relates to the businesses, yes, the tiers are gone. The distancing requirements are gone. The face masks, he basically, this is what he shared. He said, as it relates to the face masks, they're not mandatory anymore. He's just recommending them, especially if there's, a large gathering of folks. Okay, but they're not required. Okay, so it's a recommendation versus a mandate. Okay, now transferring that over to the city, on the city side, because we have some individuals and because of HIPAA laws, we can't be asking people whether or not they got, their vaccination or not. So one of the things that we're trying to work out is, maybe a hybrid of sorts, so I know people are their nose is probably sore of wearing, the face mask all the time. So we're going to try to figure out how to bring a good balance. But more importantly, it's going to be on the honor system. And what we're going to do, if there's a big crowd or something, or we have something going on, we have people coming in that are not part of the group itself on a day-to-day basis, we'll probably continue to use face masks. But what's important, what you guys want to know, is whether or not the color code systems have been removed, and the answer is yes. Are the face masks now mandatory? No, just recommended in certain circumstances, and the distancing requirements are not required. But if you haven't gotten your vaccine, he's recommending that we communicate that you should get your vaccination. Okay, that way we can get to that great spot. Any questions related to that before I move on to a few more things? Questions? Okay. All right. The next thing is CVOC is going to be having a virtual meeting where they're going to be asking the public for information, some input on the needs of migrant and seasonal farm workers. So if you're interested in participating and providing some good information related to that, it's going to be June 18th at 11, and we have a phone number. We posted it on Facebook, our city Facebook page, so if you're interested, you can find that information there. Also, council directed us as it relates to an RFP for city attorney services. So we sent that out on the 7th, and the due date's on the 22nd, and council will basically, it's council's prerogative in terms of what they want to do. I think that the week of the 28th is what we scheduled in terms of interviews, and what the council wants to do related to that is council's prerogative, as I mentioned before. And then lastly, we are having I believe it's June 30th, is the retirement luncheon that we're having for the staff. We have a few individuals who are retiring. It's going to be over at Memorial Park, and of course, council is invited. And I think that's pretty much it, unless you have any questions for me.
I think it was there.
It starts at 11. I think it ends around 3.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Go ahead, Maria.
Last meeting, you did leave this paperwork on my area in regards to the Prusso, not the Prusso, but the Walnut Child Development Center. I've reviewed it. I'd like to see if we can revisit that, so I put that on the next agenda item, as well as the Prusso Child Development Center, our senior center, and the properties next door.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, also, there is Chief had mentioned it earlier. There is a Facebook page that is titled Livingston Community News. It does have the city logo on it. So I was wanting to know exactly how you'd like to address that, because I know that I've asked several times that our public only use official city business in regards to using the official city logo that comes out towards the public. The news and the announcements and the events only come from the official City of Livingston website, and not the Livingston Community News. If it's shared out, then that's different, but they do have the logo, which is very confusing to the community.
You're exactly correct, Councilwoman Soto. Yeah, that's something that came to our radar from the get-go, because there's information that people see that and they think it's an official city webpage, and it's not. So we've been working towards getting the administrators of those Facebook pages. And it's my understanding, I guess, that there's another one that just popped up not too long ago. So we're working in that direction. I think they'll cooperate with us, and we'll certainly talk to legal if we can get it resolved.
Thank you. Any other questions, Council? Thank you. I'm going to move on to City Council members' announcements and reports. Councilmember Kang?
Yes, I attended the mosquito abatement meeting, and they are fully staffed right now. So if you're still seeing mosquitoes, give them a call at 209-722-1527, and they will come out, spray around your house. That's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Jose Moran?
Yes, actually just one item this time, and it's related to the fireworks. I did attend, actually, there was a roundtable regarding the regulating of fireworks this summer by the League of Cities. And this was for all of the cities in California, which was very, very informational. So this is not only a problem here in the city, but it's statewide. And everyone is dealing with different ways. But one of the ways that seems to be working for most of the cities, it's by implementing by the city by having their city council adding a social host ordinance, which means that even if you have people come over to your house and those guests use fireworks, and they are your guests in your house, you are responsible. It's kind of like the same thing, like if you have a party and you serve alcohol, something happens, you're responsible. So I think that is one of the things that we need to look at, and then I will approach council a little bit later in regards to implementing a social host ordinance that will help not only the fire department, but also the police department reinforce this current issue that we're trying to deal with. And other than that, and then with that also, we're going to be reaching out to other people in the county and other local agencies to try and figure out if we can work together with in regards to the illegal fireworks and their dangers. But that's it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Moran. I also participated in that, and some of the other things that were tossed around, there was use of drones to robots, security. Different communities are using different methods because the illegal fireworks are not just during the 4th of July period. They start way before, and it seems to be going year round. And there were some folks that actually mentioned that one of the things that's going on is that you have a lot of truckers who are bringing them from out of state and probably selling them and et cetera. And so all that was covered. So good information.
Just real quick. And then actually, the other thing came up was like, well, how do we pay? How do we finance the personnel that are going to be out there? Well, with those fines of $2,500 and $5,000 and so on, there will be more than enough money to finance and pay that overtime if needed from those fines.
Excellent. Good work. Move on to Councilmember Maria Soto.
Just two. I attended the VFW Flag Day. We had over 950 flags, American flags retired, as well as many military, all branches, POW, and first responder flags that we retired during that ceremony. VFW will be having its hamburger night the last Thursday of the month. And we are also preparing, Merced County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce will also be hosting July 1st, their Mercado Downtown event, and they will also honor veterans, first responders. So if you have a chance, you might be able to see that. If you have Facebook, you'll see the information out there, but again, it's going to be in downtown Merced. Big event, something that I'd like to introduce to Livingston at some point. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and move on to mayor announcements and reports. Like our fire captain mentioned earlier, we are organizing the volunteer fire company Pancake Breakfast. We do this annually as a fundraiser for supplies that we use for emergency calls. So, we would appreciate the supports on July 3rd, 7 to 11, $8 tickets. If you have any questions, you can reach out to myself or the fire station. It's always a great event, and hope to see everybody there. You could eat there, you could take it to go. Like I mentioned earlier, we're trying to organize a meet and greet with fire and police at possibly the Chambers or Starbucks or something like that for the public to come out and have a meet and greet and get to know our departments, important departments. Have a MCAG meeting next or this Thursday. And then just want to say in regards to the fireworks, obviously it's something that we hear regarding a lot of complaints. Thank you for taking that approach, Chief, and trying to alleviate that issue. Jose, thank you for your work. I know trying to set up a meeting, Jose will lead, Councilman Moran with fire. I think our division chief and our battalion chief have confirmed for Friday. So that'll be a good discussion. We're just trying to get support from fire, and I know like the city of Merced, fire is able to cite. I know it's different. It'll be different for us, but any support would be helpful. And that's it for me. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to our public hearings. We have three. The first one, item number 3, which is the ordinance of the City Council of the City of Livingston adopting the new rate schedule for water service. Proposition 218 hearing. Who has this item?
Mr. Mayor and Council, so this is a process that we started actually a couple of years ago, and we had to restart it again just recently. And so we've gone through a number of different utility stakeholder meetings where we've presented what the overall analysis is going to be for the water and sewer rates. We're going to actually, we have our consultant here this evening that's going to, go do a quick overview again in case anybody has any questions. So this is this is one of the public hearings where folks can certainly provide any input if they want to provide any input. And the Prop 218 hearing is required in the state of California whenever there's going to be any fee increases. So Mrs. Catherine Hansford will give that presentation now. And while she gets to that point, we've had some workshops in different languages that we also provided. And take it away, Catherine.
Okay, thank you. Again, this isn't the first time you've seen this information, so I'm going to go through it a little bit more speedily than I have in the past. I just want to start out with kind of a reminder, really, of what Livingston Public Works does with the water and the wastewater system. So the city draws the raw water, it's groundwater, and distributes it, treats and distributes it in the city, then collects the wastewater, treats the wastewater, and disposes of that. So it's kind of this circle of water resources, and the city is providing a reliable water and wastewater service to the citizens. Also provides waste management. It keeps the streets clean, protects public health, also protects water and air resources, supports fire protection, and enables economic activity here in the city. So these are very essential services. The purpose of the rate study is to calculate sufficient rates to ensure the financial health, I have district on here of the city. And these are the main costs involved. So there's operations and maintenance costs. That's the everyday running of the systems, includes personnel time, all the supplies they need to run the system, replace small parts, have a fleet of trucks, and so forth. Capital improvements includes larger sized improvements, such maybe as a replacement of a pipe or replacement of a specialized piece of equipment or a truck. Or processes at the wastewater treatment plant, for example. There is debt service, and with that debt service, there are covenants that the city has to honor. Those include a certain amount of money that has to be kept as restricted in the bank, and also ensure that net revenues provide a coverage above the amount of debt service that is paid in any year. And finally, there needs to be money generated for prudent reserves to ensure that the city has money should there be any emergencies, and taking care of cash flow. And so we need to make sure there's always a sufficient amount in the bank to take care of those circumstances. This slide goes over the key requirements of the California Constitution when it comes to changing water and wastewater utility rates and solid waste. First of all, the revenues from the fees shall not exceed the funds required to provide the service. The revenues from the fee shall not be used for any purpose other than that for which it was imposed. The amount of the fee imposed as an incident of property ownership shall not exceed the proportional cost of service to the parcel, and no fee may be imposed for service unless the service is used or is immediately available to the parcel. There is a water rate study that was prepared for the city, and that water rate study demonstrates how these fees meet each of these requirements. Customers do have rights under the Proposition 218 process. The city sent notification by mail to every record owner, so every customer that the city provides service to. And every one of those property owners has the opportunity to protest the rates. One protest counts for each parcel. Protests may be submitted until the close of the public hearing, and then, barring a majority protest, the board can adopt the fees included in the public hearing notice. The notice fees are the maximum fees that would be authorized. So any time, again, I said district should be city, needs to increase fees or substantially change the basis or methodology upon which the fees are computed, a new process must begin. I'm going to start out with the solid waste rate study. The findings for this study is that the current fee collections are greater than the operating costs. That's a good thing. This fund has about an 8-month operating cost reserve. Again, that's a healthy thing. But the rates do need to increase, and they need to increase 5.5% each year to pay for increases in the Jilton refuse service costs, as well as the city increased costs. And part of those costs do include 1/3 of the cost of a new account clerk. Something in this fund that's a little unknown is cost that's associated with legislation, this is Senate Bill 1383. And there will be some legal, education, outreach, enforcement, and inspection costs associated with that, which just really hasn't been determined yet. The city will have about $425,000 to spend on these costs over the 5-year period, or if these costs prove to be negligible, they can replace or save up for a street sweeper. This shows the projected cash balance with the new rates, and it does show the money being spent either to comply with the new laws or to replace a street sweeper. So you can see over the time period that it's projected that the cash balance should be right about that a recommended minimum reserve. This is a chart showing projected revenue requirement that refers to the amount of money that needs to be raised through the monthly rates. So you see the bars get higher. That shows the increased cost that's needed each year to pay for the services. The black line that goes across is the amount of money that's currently collected in this fund through rates. And then the blue line shows the amount that's a 5.5% increase each year to ensure that this fund can continue to run smoothly as it does. So I know this is a little difficult to see. I just show the once per week pickup schedule here. The next graph is a little bit easier to understand. This is the projected single-family refuse bill. This is a monthly bill, so currently $26.49 for most homes. in the first fiscal year, which would start this year in August, for collection is $27.95. Okay, so moving on to the wastewater rate study. The findings for this is that current fee collections are greater than operating costs. Again, that is good. But there is a need to adjust the rates in the wastewater fund, not only for the amount of money that needs to be collected, but also to reflect cost of service changes. So there's two key components in determining rates. The first is how much money do you need to raise? And the second is how is that cost allocated amongst different customer groups? And California has very stringent requirements that you need to demonstrate that cost of service amongst the customer groups. So although all of the customer categories need a rate increase now, there are certain customer categories that will have proportionally higher increases because of their cost of service. So churches, schools, hotels, motels, and the commercial component of the commercial rate will go up a little bit higher in that first year, and then after that we'll have the same increase as the other categories. This is the projected revenue requirement for wastewater. Again, you can see the costs going up each year. Unlike in solid waste, which there's a proposed 5.5% annual increase, this one is not a set percentage increase each year. It's more dependent on what is really needed in that particular year. And this is the projected cash balance with the new rates. Where you see the blue lines going down and up, that's because there is some kind of a capital improvement in that year that the money is being spent on. I think there in 2024, that was based on a specialized vehicle that needs to be purchased for the system. So again, we're trying to demonstrate that the rates need to increase, but we're adhering to California's law. The fees are not going up by any more than they really need to provide the service. There's no profit making occurring here. This is being run as an enterprise fund, just like a business, but without any profit. This is the projected single-family wastewater bill under the noticed rates. You can see it increasing from $43.84 up to $46.05 in the first year, and up to about $53 by year 5. The proposed wastewater rates, these were included in the public hearing notice. You can see the different categories include residential, and that's charged per unit. Non-residential has a charge either per account, per student for schools, per room for hotels and motels, and then they also pay a variable charge. So based on the amount of water they use, they're also charged a rate for wastewater usage as well. And there is a new customer category included in this rate schedule for an industrial laundromat that was not previously included in the schedule. For the water rate study, the current fee collections also are greater than operating costs, but that's good and I should say necessary because there's a large cash outlay that's expected in the next 5 years. The amount of money raised through the rates needs to increase about 5% per year to support the additional operations costs as well as the capital costs. This shows the projected cash balance with new rates. So right now, the fund looks very healthy, but the city is planning for some really major improvements in the system with the wells, with the treatment of the water. And so you can see over the period that those blue bars are going down. So they're spending the money. Even though the rates are going up, the money is being withdrawn from that fund. And so again, the goal is you want to have a bit more than that minimum target in the fund, and it'll go up and down depending on the timing of these capital improvement projects. So here you can see the amount of money that needs to be raised each year also going up and down depending on what the city needs to spend the money on. And the orange line is the amount of revenue that's proposed to be raised through the rates. So if you see that orange line where it's below the stack column, that means that the city's drawing down on reserves. So this corresponds well with the other graph you just saw, the first few years, the amount of money in the bank accounts going down, where you can see here why. The rates aren't raising as much revenue, we're drawing down on the reserves. And that's a deliberate move from 2014 rate study, and the rates were implemented at that time, was an anticipation of this expenditure occurring in the next 5 years. These are the proposed water rates. Again, I know it's hard to see on the screen. This was included in the notice, and I'm going to skip ahead to the graph, a little bit easier to understand. So a single-family home has a base allowance of 25,000 gallons a month. So as long as your home is using less than 25,000 gallons, there's no charge for the water use. So the bill's $28.18, and that would go up to $31.95. And this graph shows, well, in the summertime, quite a few homes do outdoor watering, and they do have higher consumption, and that's the gray pieces of those bars. That's how much they are charged for the water use above their base allowance. So in the summertime, the bills will go up a little bit more than during the wintertime. Altogether, the combined bill impacts under the proposed rates are shown here in this graph. So I think that says $98.51, and then it goes up to $105.95. And so increasing each year because you do receive a bill that has all three of these costs on it. Wanted to illustrate what that total impact looks like. And this shows a comparison of the combined bills in Livingston today under the proposed rates with neighboring communities. So Livingston currently has a lower bill than most communities in this area, $99. This is per month for all three utilities. That would go up to $106. So Escalon is a little lower. I know that their rates are going to go up for wastewater, so that's going to happen sometime soon. Dos Palos, Riverbank, Gustine, Merced, and so forth. And Houston has some high bills at $181 a month. I did prepare for the council some alternative rate scenarios. I was asked to take a look at what the rates might be if the city chose to move forward with a couple of different ideas. So I'll start with the wastewater. Scenario one is the proposed rates that were sent out to the customers. Scenario two are rates under a solar installation at the wastewater treatment plant, and that would reduce the electricity bills at the plant. So I believe that power purchase agreement is going forward, so that's an alternative that the council could look at. And scenario three includes that solar installation, plus it puts some of that American Recovery Plan money, or COVID relief money, I also call it here, put some of that money towards the water and the wastewater utility funds. So the proposal here is that it would pay for the new disc and ripper tractor. And so if the council moved forward with these, the rates could be a little lower. So this graph shows what the rates would be under the different alternative scenarios. The black line again is showing what the current bill is, and then orange is the rates that were included in the notices. The gray is with solar installation at the wastewater treatment plant, and the yellow is with the installation and with some of that American Recovery Plan funding being put towards the disc and ripper truck. there was also an alternative rate scenario for water. So under scenario 2, there would be allocation of $1.9 million to pay for the well 12 conveyance and treatment. And this graph shows the effects on the rates if, again, this is assuming the home is using less than 25,000 gallons in the month, what the rates could be under that alternative scenario. So these alternative scenarios depend on council actions. Again, the proposed rates that were included in the notice are the maximum rates. So the city also has the option of adopting maximum rates, and then if they move forward with one of these action items, you could have probably a resolution that would then go forward with rates that were lower than what is authorized by ordinance. So that concludes my presentation.
Thank you so much. Council, any questions right now before opening it for the public?
Yes, just for clarification. So this information, the last few slides are new, right?
I'm sorry.
The last few slides are new, where you're showing the alternative rate scenarios, right?
Yes.
Okay. So just to make sure that I understand it correctly, and for everyone else as well, can you go back to the first page where it says alternative rate scenarios?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Yes. So what you're proposing and what this says, scenario 1, to keep the rates that we had, or the
Keep in mind that this is only for sewer, and then the other one is
Okay.
for, yeah, so this is just sewer.
Okay. So, and then scenario 2 is including the solar installation reduces the fund cost, and scenario 3 is the solar installation plus COVID relief allocation of $222,525 to pay for the new disc and ripper tractor. So that is considering those funds are coming from. Okay, so that's just for 1. Plus, we got to look at the water, right?
Yes.
Which is 1.9 million.
Correct.
Okay.
So if you inject that 222,000 and change, that's going to help, and the solar, that's going to help reduce the cost of the wastewater side. And then if you inject the $1.9 million on the water side, that's going to help lower the rate on the potable water side. So those combined will take what is currently being proposed and lower, so that the rates are going to be lower.
Council, other questions?
And the reason staff is recommending that is that we find that the RO funding, that this is a way to actually have a benefit for everybody in the community because the funds are being distributed to everybody. And this was like the most balanced approach. And so we came, there was actual projects within in the capital improvement program in each one of those categories where we can identify and injected that money.
Just real quick, in regards to the actual amounts, I know we were expecting a certain amount. Are we expecting more? Or is there the opportunity to inject more money into this?
Yes, Mayor. According to the latest information that we received, from $2.8 million, it looks like we're going to receive like 3.3, somewhere in there, 3.5, yeah, 3.5. So there is, so if council wants to inject further money into that on the sewer side or on the water side, that can be done, yes.
So just to understand, in order for us to, for example, take staff's recommendation and put some money in towards towards that and all that, do we have to start the process all over again?
No.
How would it work?
No. So I'll give you some more information. So for instance, that doesn't prevent you from coming in a later date and taking some ARA funds and injecting more money in. This will at least get everything going. You just can't charge more. You can charge less because you're injecting money from other sources. And
Yeah, at the close of the public hearing, if you don't have a majority protest, that authorizes the council to adopt the rates, and you could choose either the rates that were included in the hearing notice or alternative rates, but those then become your maximum rates. So if you chose to put more money, say, into the water fund, and you could see that you then wouldn't need to raise the rates maybe for a year, you can just freeze them for a year. But the important thing is that what you would set is the maximum amount that you could charge in the next 5 years by adopting the rates.
So I guess to be clear, at the end of the public hearing, we could say we will adopt the rates that includes that COVID relief money as the maximum or something like that.
If you do that, then then you've set the maximum amount in that ordinance.
okay, so an alternative would be that you adopt the rates as stated and that ARA funding, what currently is being projected in future projections, and you can always inject that money, and then you can freeze it for a year or maybe 2 years, or maybe until the end of, there might be no need to increase, and then wait until the next, 5 years to do the next study. So because you're injecting capital, there is going to be freezing of rates because it's quite a bit of capital. We're talking almost $2 million on the water side and about $222,000 on the wastewater side. Yes, wastewater.
Go ahead, Maria.
When are these funds available to?
We're going to get 2 payments, and I know that Vanessa mentioned that we were going to get the first payment July what? Mid-July. Yeah. Okay. Second payment will be next year, probably around the same time? Yes.
And you know what's the amount we're getting, like the first payment, how much it would be?
Vanessa Portillo, Finance Director. Good evening. The $3.5 million, it's expected to be split in 2 equal payments. So we are looking into receiving $1.8 million in July and the next allocation the following year.
Thank you. Council, any other questions? So this time, any other questions? So this time we're going to go ahead and open up the public hearing and hear testimony. Anybody, any comments from the public regarding this item? Any comments regarding this item? Go ahead.
Good evening, Council and Mayor and residents. I just had a question. Is this going to be something you're going to vote on tonight, or is it just informational? It's the first time I came and heard of this. I didn't see.
It's something we'll be voting on. Yeah.
So you're going to be voting it on tonight based
Yes.
on what was presented? Okay. I'd like you to consider what's in regards to the monies coming in for maybe to postpone it, and especially right now with the COVID-19 incident, some residents are not employed, businesses are shut down, and I know it's a must. I know I've been in council before, and I know it's a tough decision, but right now we have to consider what the citizens of Livingston are going through, among other nearby cities. So I just really wish you guys would kind of think about it and take in consideration all the hardships our residents are having at this time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comment. Anybody else? Other comments? No? So we'll bring it up. No comments back there? No? Okay. So we'll bring it back to council for further questions, or closing the public hearing and bringing it back to council for further discussion or direction or clarifications.
Mayor? Can
Oh,
I
yes, sorry,
provide-
before we move on, Monica, have we received the majority of written protests from the landowners here in our town?
We have not received the majority in writing a written protest. We only received 35 protests for this item.
Thank you so much, Monica, appreciate it. All right, so I appreciate the comment you made. Definitely, that's one of the biggest things that people approach me regarding this item, and they express their hardships during COVID, and a lot of people are out of work and going through a difficult time. And then I know staff definitely has been recommending this for some time, and there's been obviously, as you guys could see in the different PowerPoint presentations, workshops we've had, it's something that it's needed. But at the same time, I totally agree. We need to put that COVID relief money towards this and help. It's the fairest way of doing it, helping everybody by using this money towards the utility rates. Anybody else? Any other council? Any other questions, comments? Go ahead.
Yeah, I also agree with Ms. Aguilar. People are in hard times right now. So if we could kind of push this on until we get out of COVID and then bring it on a few months later, I would appreciate that.
Just a quick, our attorney, I might have missed any public comment from the phones. Okay, I don't hear any. I'll bring it back to council. Go ahead, Jose.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So yes, definitely, it's I do feel for everyone that has had some hardships, and I think there's some very hard times, and I think by considering us injecting some of that COVID funds into this items, I think will be the best way to also help everyone equally, because otherwise it's going to be not fair for some. But this way we make sure that everyone gets some support, some help from these funds. And although it might look like we might be raising the rates, which is needed a little bit, but it won't be that drastic. And then at a later date, if we see that we need to continue adding additional support, we can always come back and add more to it. If we would have to analyze that at a later date. But right now, I would be in favor of this alternate rate scenarios of adding the 225 to the sewer one and 1.9 to the water one.
Thank you so much. Any other comments at this time?
I find us pretty much being in agreement to this alternative COVID relief funds being injected into these, because it's going to hit about the same time. If the first payment is going to be mid-July, and these rates are, if adopted, would go up in August, I believe that the next bill that would come forth would be the August one, after we inject it, if we use those funds, or we should use those funds to help out the community. I think it's in the best interest of all of us living within the city limits and are within this whole jurisdiction when we receive those funds, to put them where it can help our community the most.
Thank you. I think, so it sounds like, obviously, we all agree that the COVID relief money should be used towards utilities. The only thing I'm wanting to know is, I would like to know how, this is based on the information we thought we were going to receive the 2 point whatever amount, correct?
Yes, at the moment, we were under the guidance that we were going to receive $2.8 million. Now, the projection has changed. It's $3.5 million.
So it's 3.5 now, so we could potentially use more of that COVID relief money to help our families in need in the community. I know there's programs out there that helps with utility assistance for those who are having a hard time. But I wish we could have known that and seen that and apply it. I know it's impossible, and obviously it's fed money, and all that stuff gets calculated.
So what council can do is you can move forward with this, and it doesn't prevent you from injecting the remaining funds, a certain amount of the remaining funds at a later date, because that money is coming, and nothing prevents you from injecting that funds, and you guys can determine that at a later date once we have that funding in place, and that way all the mechanisms that need to start for August, because every month that goes by, those are funds that are not recuperated, and the actual debt service and the funds needed to keep everything operational, because we've delayed this for at least about a couple of years. It's got to a critical point.
So by recalculating with the new amounts we have, how much longer would it delay the process, or that we wait a couple months to or a month or whatever to recalculate? How it would be that? Would it be severe, or is it?
Well, we'll make it easy for you. If we know we're going to receive 3.5 million, and you decide that you want to inject 2.5 million in the water, as an example, you can certainly direct staff to do that, pass the rates, and say we want this amount, and the process can continue to go forward. Because we know right now that at least we're going to get 3.5. And that way the process continues. Because what's more critical right now is the process, and the funding more injection of money will only lower the rates. So whatever is being projected now is going to be lower.
If I may, at the same time, the higher the funding, I mean, there's 4 different tiers that this money can be used, and that is still being on calendar for the council to decide. So, like we proposed to use $1.9 million for water infrastructure and $200,000 for sewer. The fact that we're getting $700,000 more, there's other 3 categories. I mean, like we have to replenish the general fund. So out of those $700,000, not all $700,000 can be allocated for water as well, or the enterprise funds. So there's the other 3 categories. We have helping businesses, helping some not-for-profits, and in sectors that have been impacted by the pandemic. So out of that extra money, it still has to be allocated through the other categories that it's allowable.
I think we need more time to look over this, bringing in the other, the general fund and everything else that we could divvy up all the money that the city is receiving for this. And from what I heard is that we've pushed this off and pushed it off to it's a critical point. With June water bill is done, it's this month. We've got July, and then we've got this implementation as you projected, August 2021. What is one more month that will be a critical need?
Well, what this does, Council, is that because the city has to adopt by ordinance and by resolution, it doesn't take into effect until 30 days afterwards. Okay, so and every month that is pushed off, that's revenue that's not being generated. But again, it's council's prerogative in terms of wanting to do that. Okay, and legal can certainly chime in and say what we would need to do to push this off a little further, okay? And so that we don't have to restart the process, so there's a continuance, okay? And the only thing that you guys need to know is that whatever we don't capture in these next couple of months of what we have now, that's more money that the money that you inject is going to have less of an impact because you're not collecting those funds at a higher rate.
Trevor, you want to chime in? Are you on the phone?
I'm here, Mayor. So what the city manager is absolutely correct. It's because it's an ordinance, there are some timing requirements by statute that are required number of days before the ordinance can take effect, and thereby the rates can take effect. So from what I'm hearing is there is some concern amongst the council members, and rather than, as the city manager had stated, that this item, because of the process, stop, one option would be to continue the item for the next meeting, but continuing the item pushes the enactment date of the ordinance and thereby the proposed rate even further out. And so you would have this gap between your need for imposing the new rate and when they would actually take effect.
So technically, the item wouldn't die. It will be just a continuation, correct?
Correct. But again, just with the knowledge that pushes the entire timetable out further.
1 week or whatever, 2 weeks or whatever the next council meeting.
And Catherine, what would I know I'm putting you on the spot, but what would be the economic impact of not collecting the revenue that's being projected in your analysis for that 1 or 2 extra months?
Yeah, it's putting me on the spot. I can't really answer that.
No, I know. I know it's very difficult, but what I want to convey is that the analysis, that there has to be another analysis.
Yes.
Projections done by you, but there is a certain dollar amount,
Yes.
whatever that dollar amount is, and that it's a negative versus a positive because you're not collecting for that
Correct.
month or that 2 months.
So I don't actually have the numbers with me right now, but if we look back at what the rate study said just over a year ago and you compare it with the rates that are presented here today, you can see the rates have gone up. Again, I don't have the order of magnitude. I want to say like a couple of bucks or so for each of these utilities because of delaying that increase by about, 18 months now. So it is a real impact. If you don't move forward with the rates, there needs to be a catch-up at some point in time.
And the catch-up, what's nice is that the catch-up is that we receive these funds that the feds are putting forward, and otherwise the scenario would be a lot different right now. So as staff, what we recommend to the council is that you go with these alternatives and you continue moving ahead with the increasing of the rates, and then at a later date, that extra money that's hanging out there from that extra $700,000, you can then, direct staff, and we want to use this amount more and inject that as a separate injection of money at a later date. That's an option if you guys want to go that route.
I think I would just sort of echo again what was in the presentation in terms of process. When you close the public hearing, if you choose to move forward, again, it's setting they would be maximum rates that you would be adopting, but it is your prerogative at any point in time, even prior to having more funds injected, that you could always, have a rate that is a little lower than what you adopt in the ordinance. You always have that ability. But as far as process goes, it's been easier in my experience. I've seen this situation in other places too. It's been easier to move forward with the process and have a set of rates that you can then, you can do something a little different with it, but the process is done at that point.
And then again, just to reiterate to the public, is that we do have programs in place through different nonprofits, self-help, and others, where if there's any resident out there what is having trouble with mortgage payments or having issues with paying their utility bills, there is funding out there separate from what the funding that we're talking about this evening to help those folks catch up with their back payments because of COVID. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments?
Yes, with all due respect, I really don't financially wise, I don't see the advantage of pushing this forward again, or actually not pushing it forward, but actually putting it on hold again. Because for one, we do have the ability to later on, if we decide that we want to consider adding more money to it, we can always do that. That is an option. But right now, part of the process, and then also whatever money that we are losing or the city is losing by not collecting is the people's money also. And well, that's how I see it. So whether it's $10,000, $20,000 a month or in 2 months, whatever it is, those are $10,000 or $20,000 of the people's money, And so it's not like if we approve this, actually this alternate rates are way better than they were before. And we can always come back. I mean, it can be a month later, 2 months, 3 months, or 6 months. We can always come back and say, you know what, let's inject more money. So we always have that option. But it seems like we're just, unless someone can really educate me on what the benefits will be for the city or for the residents on how this is going to be a benefit to hold it another month or two.
Go ahead. For the gravity or the importance of the situation, go ahead.
Diego Castillo, PO Box 855. Just 4 questions for you. How long have we been working on this item, and then what percentage of the residents have complained? If I remember correctly, I believe we started this process, or had been completed once, and we had to do it for a second time. Can you remind me what this additional cost was to have this done a second time? And then the third thing is, if our finance can explain to the residents, if our reserves go below our debt service requirement for our bonds or loans, what does that do to the city, and what would that cost to the rates to the residents? And the last thing is, if I understand correctly, even if you guys approve the item today, the amount cannot increase what has already been posted or has been made aware to the city. Is that correct? And then again, I mean, we know, I mean, I'm a resident, we own businesses here and houses, and we would prefer not to increase rates, but it's something that I believe the longer we prolong it, it's actually going to cost us more. So by doing it now, you're actually doing us a better service than by prolonging and prolonging and prolonging. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You want to go ahead?
Vanessa Portillo, Finance Director. I believe we started this process back in 2019 when we first contracted with Hansford Economic Consulting Services to start this rate study. I remember that we presented a draft report back in December 2019 with a proposal or a proposed rate study implementation as of February 2020, which was later on advanced or scheduled for a later time, and then we went through the pandemic, and then it was all put on hold. All in all, I mean, the consulting or just the process of running this rate study is not, it's not cheap. It is, we're looking at anywhere in between $40,000 to $50,000 for consulting services, for publishing, for holding workshops and doing all of these presentations and translations of this item. At the same time, back in September 2020, that's when we decided to continue and do an amendment of the rate study that we had put together back in 2019, or at the beginning of 2020, and that was an additional $21,000 in consulting fees. So it is costly, and in the event that we don't, or that we need to produce alternative scenarios, at this point, we would have to do a contract amendment and look at what the cost would be for that proposal at that time. That was part one. The additional cost. What it does to our debt service requirements, we are legally binded by the bank that we borrow money, that we are supposed to meet a minimum requirement of our reserves or in revenue collected. It will hinder the city from borrowing money in the future, and we have many capital project improvements that are on the list that unfortunately we won't be able to move forward if we are not able to borrow money. And I'm not sure if I'm missing anything, Diego.
I think we're just saying that, just to confirm, or if the council confirm, even if you guys move forward today with this item, you still have the option of reducing the fee, and it's already been posted and to the citizens for, I mean, we're all aware of it, and from what I understand, do you know what percentage of the residents
Thank
that they oppose?
Yes. It is very minimal. We have about 3,500 accounts for our utilities, and we had 35 protests, so that's just 1%. And I do want to add that we did, I mean, like part of this process too, it is doing the publishing of the rates, and we normally hold workshops. We have been holding workshops in different languages, and they don't happen all at once. They happen over time, so that also adds another month into the process in order for us to be able to schedule each one of these 3 different languages workshops. So it is just, like it's not just a July timeframe. It is more of like come with a new rate and have another month of workshops and have another month for the publishing and the hearing. So it will put us closely to a December. So it's more like a 6-month turnaround.
Thank you so much for the information. Just real quick question. If we move forward today, so could we wait until the funding's available to, for example, we pass this, the maximum amount of money or whatever fee will be this. However, it's not gonna, could we say somewhere in the motion that it won't take effect until later on, reflecting the COVID relief money funding? Or it would have to be like a separate?
If I'm understanding correctly, you're saying don't charge, because keep in mind that whatever motion you're going to make, if you say we want it with the alternatives, with the ARA money, that rate is, that's the rate that's going to be charged. Okay, it's not going to be the original one without the injection of the money. Okay, and so starting August, it will be that rate. Okay, so if you go in that rate, so basically, we know that the funding is coming, and because we know the funding is coming for sure, that's the amount that we're going to collect based on the scenario that you choose.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment?
Yes, sir, go. the microphone for the record, please. Thank you.
Just a quick comment. I know that Diego asked when this started, but if we all recall, this actually started way before that, in 2009 maybe, or before that. So it's been a long time since this started, and it got started again. So just keep that in mind.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, so yeah, so we would be charging at the alternate with the COVID relief money. Okay. And then in regards to future, so then in the future, if we recalculate with the new amounts we know, and we could inject some money, then we would have to come back, obviously, and discuss what rate, what would that look like, and then approve something like that. So could it be potentially back to us next meeting to discuss? I mean, just that specific item saying we're using this amount, and then.
Yeah, to make it easier for council, this is a 5-year projection, and what matters is where we end, and a little bit because of when we start projects. So staff is going to, when we get the money injection, okay, we're going to be using those funds, because you look at the charts, and there's certain years where it fluctuates, but staff will work, and we know that we're going to get an injection next year of half of the money as well. So I don't foresee any problems. Vanessa, do you see any? Because at this point, if you choose this alternative, we're going to charge the rates based on this alternative. And then, let's say in the next few weeks, we sit down, and even during our budget, which is coming up on the 22nd, and because we know we're going to get 3.5, you can say, okay, we want 200,000 or 300,000 to be injected also into this. When we do that, of course, then staff has flexibility to say, hey, you know what? For this time period, whether it be at the end or during this year, we'll freeze it, or we'll only collect X. The bottom line is that the people will benefit from that savings.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you for answering that. Okay, sounds good.
I know during
Go
COVID,
ahead.
so sorry. We helped out our citizens through various programs. Can you remind us how many of those families that were in need, how many actually defaulted on, I'm not sure.
We had about,
term, but
yeah, I don't remember the exact amount of accounts, but total, I believe that we didn't collect was, or we're having a little bit of trouble collecting, is about $90,000.
Yes, that is correct.
That's over the course of the full year of COVID to now.
That's correct. And so far, I believe that from the last report that we received from the grant and the agency, the grant administrator, we had about 4 applicants. So it's
Yeah, so folks are not taking advantage of that, and we don't want to give back that funding. It's there, so people who need help, it's there.
absolutely.
And it's not just for utilities, it's also for rent.
Rental assistance, mortgage assistance.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, council.
I move to.
Hi, Mayor, I have a question.
Can you please identify yourself?
Yeah, my name is Tom.
Go
I had
ahead.
a question. How many accounts were in default prior to COVID?
The question is, how many accounts were in default prior to COVID? I don't know the answer to that. Does staff?
Yeah.
Or
no,
this percentage?
I would have to go back and
We would have to go back and check.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, council. Any motions, direction?
I would move to approve as stated with the, including the alternative rate scenarios with the option of that we can always come back later and add more to it after we discuss it.
We have a motion by Councilmember Jose Moran. Do we have a second? I'll second that motion with the understanding that we would recalculate later with additional funding to inject towards assisting utility rates. So we have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call, Monica?
Roll call. Councilmember Soto?
No.
Councilmember Moran?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
No.
Mayor Aguilar?
Yes.
Motion failed by a vote of 2-2.
So at this point, maybe the attorney, another motion that might, so that it doesn't die tonight and push it forward, if you might want to direct us.
Trevor, you on the phone?
Absolutely. I mean, that's an option for the council to consider, is continuing this item for further discussion to your next scheduled regular meeting.
Does anybody want to make a motion? Yeah, either, so it would be, Trevor, correct? It would be for next council meeting or a later date, or do we have to be specific?
We do need to be specific, so if council thinks it needs more time, I'd recommend picking the second meeting in July.
I'll make a motion to postpone till July, the second week of July.
Just for clarification purposes, so we would have to basically contract again. She can't do it.
So Vanessa, if you want to chime in again, or I can do it. So this will push us out possibly about 6 months?
That's my estimate. I mean, we would have to have the consultant produce the alternative scenarios. And once we have that proposal, we bring it to council, and we normally hold workshops. That's another month. That would potentially be July, August. After the workshops, we go through the publishing. That's potentially another month. That's September. And by the time the rates, since they're adopted by ordinance, that is 30 days after the second reading, so that would potentially put us into the December timeframe.
And there'll be so we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? I mean, obviously staff's recommending we move forward, correct? I mean, right, correct, regardless, because that's something that's definitely needed. So I'll second that motion.
Roll call.
Can you clarify what was the motion to continue it in second week of July, right?
Maria, your motion?
That was the motion. That's what I'm going based on what the city attorney has.
So the second meeting, correct, Councilmember Soto?
Yes, that's what she's confirming that. The second meeting? So it'll be the second meeting? So yeah, second meeting. Is that correct? Yes.
Roll call. Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Councilmember Moran?
I abstain.
Councilmember King?
No.
Mayor Aguilar?
Yes.
Motion failed by a vote of 2-1.
I think what we can do at this point, based on the time frame that staff had communicated, and try to put a little bit of a dollar amount associated with because if it's potentially, say, 4 to 6 months of delay in collecting, that's 4 to 6 months of money that we're not collecting, plus the what was that? Oh, plus it's in addition to that, it's also staff time, because it's not that's that's being, that's not incorporated here or talked about, but that's also, all the staff time that we come out, even though we're exempt employees, having to use the facilities, all these different things. And let's see if I'm missing something. Yeah, and then, of course, the consultant for the due analysis. So if I had to put a dollar amount in there, I don't know, I'm thinking, since I don't know what the dollar amount is per month, but if I had to put a number, let's just say 30,000, so 30 times 6, plus what we're paying the consultant, plus staff time, the residents, since all the residents are paying into the pot for the water account, you're talking extra money that has to that the savings will not be reflected. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
If I may?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm trying to still understand if someone can explain it again. Maybe I didn't get it. But for what reason? To postpone it for what reason? I mean, what is the actual reason of why we should postpone it? Because I still didn't get it, other than just wishing to postpone it.
You want to answer that? Well, who was your question directed toward?
To the council.
Okay.
I mean, why are we? I'm still trying to understand why do we need to postpone it when everything that we have it right here in front of us. I mean, unless I didn't hear I don't believe I heard anything that were warrant for the city not to collect, or to invest another $200,000 or more. Then are we trying to save money by spending $200,000 or more? It doesn't make sense to me. So someone please explain it to me, because I need to explain it to the residents of Livingston.
That's a very valid question, absolutely. And I agree with you in regards to, obviously this has been coming for a long time, and it's needed, although we don't want to do it, and there's a lot of people struggling, but ultimately it has to be done. And with the COVID relief money, I think it's a good opportunity to help out that situation. So I agree with you. We're gonna go to the next item, and it's also utility. So
Can I ask the attorney a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, he's already getting paid. So Trevor, are you on the line?
I am.
Okay. So my question is this item officially dead, or can it be brought back by anyone in the council at this moment?
But the motion is failed, unless there's a third motion put forward with a differing alternative. The item itself fails at this point.
could potentially somebody bring it up again too? So like you mentioned earlier, the item could potentially be moved to the next council meeting, or and it wouldn't die. Is that correct?
That's right. I mean, you would postpone it to receive more clarification and further presentation from staff. That's what council requests. But it would need to be for the first meeting, because for the second meeting has already been proposed by Councilwoman Soto, and that motion has failed. Aside from that, the motion regarding the ordinance and resolution can't move forward.
Okay, so let me rephrase that question, Trevor. Can I motion to bring this item back at the next council meeting, which will be, I believe, July 6th? Or even if we can even reconsider and bring it to a special council meeting. Is that correct?
No, it would need to be a regularly scheduled meeting, and it would be a continuance of the item.
Which will be July 6th?
Correct. The next regularly scheduled city council meeting.
I'm sorry, can you say that again, Trevor?
It would be proposal to continue the item to the next regularly scheduled city council meeting.
Okay, so I have two more questions. Well, one more question before I make a motion. Can I remake the same motion that I did earlier on this item right now? Yes or no?
It's already failed.
Okay, so at this moment, I motion to bring this item back for the July 6th council meeting.
Excuse me, Councilmember Moran, it would be to continue the item to the July 6th city council meeting to receive further information and consideration for council.
Yes, correct.
What was your motion again?
Trevor, can you repeat that again?
So it would be to continue the item to the July 6th regular city council meeting
Okay, so,
to receive further information from staff and consideration by the council.
okay. So whatever he said.
We have a motion. We have a motion for whatever Trevor said.
I have a question. I mean, I know
Go ahead.
I understand there's a motion on the floor, but just, Vanessa, I realize you said mid-July. Is that the time that we are to receive the money? Or were you going to give are they going to send you a notification first of exact amount of funding that is going towards this?
We applied for the funds already, so we submitted the forms that we need, that each city is supposed to submit in order to get the funding. This money is out there for the cities. Their projection is $3.5 million, which is it's great news for the city because we have projected $2.8 million. We know that based on our population, 2.8 is our base, 3.5 it's the best case scenario, and that's what we were reporting to council. There could be other cities that decide to tap into their money. The reason why there is more funding available for cities, or there's more funding being allocated to the cities right now, it's because some of the smallest cities or some cities are choosing not to go after this ARP funding. So then the money gets put back in the pot and gets reallocated to everybody else. There may be a city out there that can end up choosing to claim this funding, so then our 3.5 may go to 3.2, and but we know our base is 2.8 million because that is our base calculated on our population. We can go up to 3.5. Other cities can decide. So we're still tentative. That's the latest release from the Department of Finance, that 3.5 is the allocated funds that the city will receive. So we're just waiting for them to do this release of funding.
Thank you so much for the explanation. We have a motion on the floor. I'll go ahead and second that motion. Monica, could we get roll call?
Roll call. Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Councilmember Moran?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
Yes.
Mayor Aguilar?
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 4-0.
So we'll be bringing it back to our next council meeting, correct? So we're going to go ahead and move on to item number 4, which is the resolution and ordinance of City Council, City of Livingston adopting a new rate schedule for domestic wastewater services, sewer service, Proposition 218, public hearing.
Well, this is the this is part of the public hearing process. This is just the wastewater section, and then the one after that is on the waste service. So basically, you guys have to, I guess, Trevor can chime in, make a motion, to the same as the one before, to postpone it to the second meeting in July.
So we'll go to the motion, so, and we could still technically make a motion separate, right? It's a different item technically, it's not attached to each other.
Yeah, the first one was an ordinance, these are resolutions.
Oh, gotcha, okay. So we'll open it up to the public hearing for public comment. You want to make a comment at this time? Letty, you had a comment earlier? Oh, okay, I'm so sorry. Anybody else comment? Okay, we'll bring it back to council for direction, motions. So you want to make a motion?
Okay, why?
Can I report that,
Monica, go ahead.
I'm sorry? That we did not receive the majority in written protests. We only received 35 for this item.
Thank you, Monica. Council?
I'm trying to figure out how to word it.
Want Trevor to help you? Trevor?
So.
Yes.
Go ahead. Well, I'm going to assume that since we did not pass item number 3, but I'm still going to give it a try. I move to approve item number 4 as stated, including what's the wording? With the new revised,
Alternative funding.
with the alternative funding. That is my motion at this point.
We have a motion by Councilmember Jose Moran. Do we have a second? I'll second the motion with the understanding that in the future we could use additional funding towards assisting those rates from the COVID relief money. Monica, could we get a roll call?
Roll call, Councilmember Soto?
No.
Councilmember Moran?
Yes.
Councilmember Kane?
No.
Mayor Aguilar?
Yes.
Motion failed by a vote of 2-2.
At this time, I move to, what was the wording, Trevor? To postpone?
To continue.
To continue.
To continue.
To continue.
I move to continue this item until the July 6th next council meeting.
The second meeting in July.
No. It's
July 6th.
We have a motion by Councilmember Zamoran. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second by Councilwoman Maria Soto. Could we get roll call, Monica?
Roll call, Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Councilmember Moran?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
Yes.
Mayor Aguilar?
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 4-0.
Thank you, Monica. We're going to go ahead and move on to item number 5, resolution ordinance of the City Council of the City of Livingston adopting any rate schedule for solid waste service, garbage service, Proposition 218 hearing.
Again, council, this is the solid waste portion. Again, ordinance and resolution.
Thank you. Council, any further questions at this time?
I do have one question for the attorney.
Yes.
Trevor, if the continuance to July 6th, does that give us enough time to publish and for the continuance, for the public notice?
I believe it does, but I can double check that.
Okay, council, no questions, take it out, open the public hearing, take it out for public comment. Any public comment, concerns, comments? Go ahead, Julio.
Just have a question for you guys that voted no. Can you guys tell the residents why, what's your reason behind voting no? Why are you putting it out further? Do you guys have an answer for that? Those that voted no?
Thank you for your comment, sir. Any further comments from the public? Go ahead.
Hello, Council. Hilda Lopez, 2279 Burgundy Drive. And I just wanted to let Council know that it's extremely disappointing that this water issue has been going on for so many years, and yet here we are again tonight with the opportunity to move forward and do something about it. And we have hit a roadblock by our people who are supposed to be leading our city to prosperous, to better prosperous ways within our community. Just like the other gentleman, questioned why are we choosing to vote no. It's my assumption, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that nobody wants to look like the bad guy. Nobody wants to raise water rates, and that's what the perception may be. But the reality is that this is necessary. We have all the professionals here stating why this is necessary. The city manager, finance director, consulting firms that we've paid lots of money to advise us on what we need to do, and you guys blatantly disregard it. It's extremely disappointing. It's about time that we do something about this water issue, quit passing the buck, and move forward with it. The reality is that we are going to have to do something about it at some point. What better time now than now where we have this other COVID-19 funding that we can infuse to lessen the burden on our residents? The only reason I could think that you guys keep postponing it because of the COVID money is that you guys are wanting to allocate it somewhere else. So if that's not the case, please correct me if I'm wrong, but that is the perception that I'm getting, and I'm sure there's plenty other residents that are getting that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the comment.
One of the things that I'm looking at, again, I hear your concern, and I know and I have been looking at this, and it is necessary. It has been necessary, and it has been pushed off, like Mr. Valadez had said, since 2009. Our city can't afford, but we are going to be looking at it again coming up this July 6th. It's a continuance. So again, looking at these, there is $90,000 that we have yet to collect from the residents. There are other opportunities that could go towards collecting revenues towards city. The COVID money, yes, of course, that money is going to be allocated further, and that's the closer that we get to that, we're looking at June has already passed. The July bill is going to be when? When is that going to be into the community? When is that going to be mailed out?
Yeah, but Councilwoman Soto, the bill is what's collected. What we collect in August is what was used in July.
Okay.
Okay, but well, yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
So again, we're looking at, it's been critical since 2009. We have postponing it out just three more weeks so that we have a better understanding of what these alternatives are. This is the first time I saw what was presented by the consulting firm, these numbers with the solar and including the industrial. This paperwork was not given to us prior to this, so looking at it again, actually having a discussion with staff and them putting out the numbers, again, sitting down with the consultants, everybody in this team, again, being hit with this tonight. Yes, I agree that we need to move forward with this, but with all the correct information and a little bit more discussion, I'd like to, we've already put it off to July 6th.
Any other further public comment? Go ahead.
Leticia Vasquez here. Councilwoman Soto, I think that you
must be very mistaken by your last statement, because from what I understand, this information was already provided to all of us, including you. So it is your duty and your homework to do this before you come on and sit on these meetings to make a decision. It's not your duty to sit here and waste everybody's time when you should be doing this before and educate yourself on this. So if this information has been out and everybody has seen it, that means you all have seen it. And I do want to hear from Mr. King and Mrs. Soto, what is the reasoning behind, because your explanation makes no sense. So we're waiting for $90,000 of fees that are being owed to us to put it into this. I don't understand what you mean by that. So explain. If both of you could explain, that would be really helpful to understand.
Well, my reason is I have so many residents coming up to me saying they can't afford it. By us raising these water rates, it's not going to be drinking standards. I don't know if the residents were clear about that. It's just going to raise the rates. The water quality is going to be the same. So I don't know if you guys are assuming if we raise these rates, everybody go grab the water faucet and start drinking out of it. That's not the case. So to me, that's why I don't think it's right for us to raise the money, because people are hurting due to COVID. A lot of people lost jobs. People have lost family members. This is not the right time. So I need more time. I think residents need more time. Yeah, I do think we need to raise it, but this is not the right time. Timing is everything. To me.
So the time that, all these times or these months and weeks that you've been discussing this was not enough to make that decision?
Well, residents couldn't reach out due to COVID. Now it's finally open. I want to give all the residents a chance to actually reach out to us. And
35 people wrote.
that's them, but how many people do you think reached out to us?
So then why was this not brought up before tonight? Why was that
This is the
not
first time
a
it came up to our council meeting.
Why was that not brought up to a workshop or any conversation? Hey, you know what? I'm getting
Nobody-
these comments from all these residents that don't want this to happen.
Nobody attended the workshops.
Okay, but it is still your duty to have that
That's
conversation.
why we brought 2 more weeks, so hopefully more.
But you wait till it's the time to make a decision to bring this to the table.
All right, thank you so much for your comment.
Thank
Let's
you.
move.
I would just like to make a comment in response to Councilmember Kang. The city meets potable water Title 22 drinking standards at all times. We're regulated by the state of California. Anytime there's any issue as it relates to the water quality in this city, we actually will get a notice of violation. We can actually have our wells, they'll issue a cease and desist order. So the water that the residents receive at their home meets California State Title 22 drinking water standards. So otherwise, we would be in violation of the law.
Thank you. Any other public comment at this time?
Yeah. Is it still open to people on the phone?
Go ahead.
Hey, this is Wander King. I had a quick question. I understand when they did the presentation that we would be at $31 and some odd cents. How much would it cost, instead of the 1.9, how much would it cost to put it in where the value would stay status quo kind of deal? I understand, would it be like a 2.3 million, 2.2 million, and so forth, to see how much money we would have to allocate to make sure that it remains? Another comment I would like to add is, I'm young, but I feel like I'm old school. I would want the council to only spend money that we know that we physically have in our hand and not what we're assuming we're going to get or we're hoping to get. I feel like if you guys physically see like, hey, yes, we have this money, yes, we can allocate it to water, wastewater, and so forth, then I think that would be the right time to spend it. But right now we're assuming that, hey, we might get it in 2 weeks, but we live in the state of California, things do get extended, and if we start charging our residents a certain amount, I know the city's going to have to fork up and pay that difference until we get that money allocated, maybe from general fund and so forth. I think by at least tabling it for 2 more weeks will give us an opportunity to say, hey, this is the date that this money is coming, and we can start pushing it forward. I don't think anybody wants to be the bad guy. We all want the water fixed, but I just think timing is the main thing, and I agree. COVID has hit a lot of families hard, so I appreciate you guys bringing it up to the next meeting, and if they can provide that number, that would be wonderful to see how much it would cost to keep it exactly what the cost is right now. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment. Any response to that?
Yeah, that would be something that we would have to work with our consultant.
Thank you. Any further public comment?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just have a question, a clarification. When Mr. Moran, did you say sustain? Does that mean you're not disagreeing or agreeing, correct? Is that the definition of sustain?
Trevor?
That is correct. Abstaining means you're not voting yes or no
Okay, I just wanted
on
to
the particular
clarify.
item.
I just wanted a clarification because when Mr. Moran said he was abstain, I saw Council Soto laugh at him, which I think it was a disrespect. And I never saw Council Moran smile or make a laugh when she said no. Thank you.
Any further public comment?
Yes, Jason Robb.
Go ahead.
29 Spruce Court.
Go ahead.
Honestly, I think this needs to be re-clarified with the COVID relief and what we have to do to fix the wells and the water and et cetera. That's all. And, I'm sorry, one more thing. To re-educate the public of what's going on, due to COVID, I know a lot of people lost jobs and a lot of people were hurt. I think it needs to be more clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the comment. Diego?
P.O. Box 855, Diego Castillo. So maybe the questions that I asked didn't clarify for the public or the council. Is my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that even if you guys would have approved item 3, you still had the option of going back and adjusting how much money would go into this item? Like you weren't set to whether it's 2 million, whether it's 1 million, whether it's 3 million, 5. You guys still had that open. The only item that was getting approved was, or closing was it, or can you confirm, what item was closing today? Just so I'm clear too, because now with all the back and forth, I'm a little confused. So by the council approving item 3, what item was closing? And by not doing that, I understand it pushes it 2 weeks, but my understanding is those 2 weeks push the deadline out 6 months, which in essence, it doesn't just change $1 or $2. You're talking maybe 100,000, maybe 180,000. So by us postponing it 2 weeks, we actually might end up with a higher utility bill than if they would have approved it today. At least that's my understanding. So even though if they approve the item today, they can still adjust the amount that gets allocated from this COVID money. Is that not correct, or did I miss something? Because I think maybe the council and even maybe the public got confused with what was being said.
That is correct. The council can approve the rates presented to them today, either the max rates that are proposed without COVID money or the rates with the alternative funding that it's coming in, and that would be the max rate. And the council does have the option to either lower that rate, hold the rate, or, charge something less than that maximum rate.
Okay, so what is the deadline that item 3 closes today? By us not moving forward, what is that deadline what timetable gets restarted again by not approving that item today?
The timetable that gets restarted, I feel that, there are a couple of requests that are coming through. Some of them are how much more money can we allocate from the extra funding that we're expecting to receive, not 2.8 million, but now 3.5 million. We would have to have a discussion with council what that dollar amount would look like. Of that extra $700,000, that would definitely need to be put into into this work study, the rate study, and see what the impact of each one of those that extra funding will look like as far as a rate. And from there, we would have to go through the process of holding the workshops, publishing, and there are certain dates, requirements. We have to, before the item comes back to council, we have to meet a certain time frame. I believe it's 15 days before it comes to council, and then whenever these rates are adopted, they have to be adopted through ordinance. So that means that the rates won't take effect until 30 days after the second reading of that ordinance. So that just builds up, and a 2-week time frame becomes close to a 6-month period.
Okay, so in essence, by pushing it forward 2 weeks, this would, one would cost more money. It could be 100,000, could be 100. Nobody knows the amount, but it would cost more money. And then even if the item was approved, they still had 30 days to come back and adjust the rate to lower than was published and what the residents had approved or had not contested to. Is that correct?
The city attorney can also chime in, but I believe that's correct. The council has the ability at any given time to adjust those rates, either to lower them or hold them steady.
The only thing that can't be done is
It's higher.
risen.
And if even if the council was to approve item 3 and they chose, you know what, we had another wave of COVID, we want to freeze the rates for another 6 months, they had that option to do so, correct?
That is correct.
So again, I just want to clarify that for the council, because maybe, like I said, I thought I understood the item, and then after all the back and forth, I think I wasn't understanding the item. So I think if that was brought to the council, maybe they would have made a different, or would make a different decision, because by postponing it, it's just costing more money. You still have the option to reduce the rates. You still have the option to freeze the rates. So in essence, by another 2 weeks, it's just going to cost more money. So.
Thank you, Diego. Any further public comment at this time? On the phone? Okay, we'll bring it back to council. We're closing public hearing, bring it back to council. Trevor, just a quick question, so knowing possibly better clarification with Diego's questions and staff explaining, is there any way that we could do a revote or bring the item back? What's the legal options there, Trevor?
The 2 items you've already voted on are closed. So, if at the next meeting council wanted to approve the current rate as is with the contingencies mentioned by staff regarding the COVID relief fund, it can do so at that time.
Okay, so there's no way of opening it or emergency basis, reopening it? There's no way?
No.
Okay, so item number 5, council.
So, item number 5, right?
Is the solid waste service,
Yes.
the garbage service.
I move to approve the resolution and ordinance with the...
COVID relief fund.
With the what?
COVID relief fund?
With the COVID relief fund.
A motion, I'll make the second with understanding that in the future we could add additional funding from the COVID relief fund to alleviate the utility rates for the community. We have a motion and a second. Could we get roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Councilmember Moran?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
No.
Mayor Aguilar?
Yes.
Motion failed by a vote of 3-1.
Thank you.
It passed.
Yeah, excuse me, it passes.
Trevor, we need 3 or 4?
3.
According to Trevor, we need our legal counsel, we need 3.
So the motion passes.
So the motion passes. Okay, we're going to move on to citizen comments. This section of the agenda allows members of the public to address the city council on any item not otherwise on the agenda. Members of the public, when recognized by the mayor, should come forward and identify themselves. Comments are normally limited to 3 minutes. In accordance with state open meeting laws, no action will be taken by the City Council this evening. For items which are on the agenda this evening, members of the public will be provided with an opportunity to address the City Council on each item brought up for discussion. Citizen comments?
Yes. Good late evening, gentlemen and citizens. I'm going to keep this very simple, and I really hope that the council is still awake. I'm going to allow you guys to comment if you like, but I'm going to go off of what our city manager said, that a new firm is going to be selected, and the dates are coming up quickly. I understand that the hiring of the law firm is the responsibility of this council. Wow. So in that case, your responsibility is to make sure that the council, the law firm you bring into our community is representing our community, not one individual group, or 2 or 3 of you. I'm hoping that, I came up with an idea that our city council allow the citizens, our residents, to be involved in the interviewing and hiring process, which is, Councilmember Soto, I'm over here. Thank you. And so I would like the council to consider having, it's called a town hall open forum, and that entails where the firms that are going to be presenting for 15 to 20 minutes, it's open to the public. The public could come in and make a comment and listen in, making sure that we help, by the looks of it, the council make a good choice on such a firm. It's a tough, it's an item that's really important to all of us, because remember, this firm represents the citizens, not the council, and we want to make sure that he is neutral and he is aware of the Brown Act, conflict of interest, and all those other things that have been coming up in regards to this council's behavior. So I am asking our, hopefully, I'm not sure if our city manager or our mayor could consider putting this item on the next, this special joint council and rec meeting, which is this Thursday at 6 o'clock, for discussion, where you guys could, all of you could convey to each other if it's a good idea, if it works well, and how we could get our citizens involved. This is going to help some of you who are in much need to show transparency and responsibility at, on the podium when it comes to responding to certain people who come up and have questions in regards to what's being done in the city. Transparency is so important. I know we say the word, but the actions that some of you guys are presenting here before us it's embarrassing. So I really hope, I'm asking Juanito, our mayor, that we could put it, if you guys can make a vote right now, just to put it on the agenda for Thursday at 6 o'clock, so we could sit in and see what you guys come up with that. You could research it and see what's best. I think each firm should have at least 15 to 20 minutes to introduce themselves, tell us what they're gonna bring to our community and why they want to be part of our community. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll bring it up under the direction for future agenda items.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, Council, City Manager. My name is Albert Arias. I'm a longtime resident of Livingston. I'm part of a recall committee. I'm pretty sure everybody out there knows there's a recall in process. It's just starting, but that being said, we're here to serve Juan, Mayor, again. We made a correction to the paperwork. We're also serving Maria Soto. So if I can approach.
Yeah, go ahead.
Being served on behalf of the city of Livingston, citizens of Livingston.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. As a member of the Livingston United Soccer Club and on behalf of Ana Alberto, I would like to address 2 concerns, if you can guide me to better understand. The first topic is getting a response from the council. How can we get the council to listen to our concerns? I've emailed the council, we emailed the mayor, and didn't get a response on May 6th and May 10th, and also in June. But then we see on Facebook a comment. If you guys have any concerns or questions, feel free to contact me or by phone or by email. Our doors are open. I email our council members. I've asked our council members and the mayor to reach out and get no response. I do remember getting a response in person a while back from one person. Mr. Mayor Aguilar said, "Sorry, I'm just too busy." Also an email that said, "Dear Mr. Alberto, please let me know if you're addressing all of us as individuals. If you are wanting to address the entire council, please bring your concerns to the next regular council meeting on May 18 at 7 during public comments for consideration as an agenda item. Sincerely, Maria Soto," but didn't answer the concern or anything else. Just who it was directed to. Please help me to understand. Are we excluded from any concerns? Is there anything personal, or is it just in the best interest of the council and mayor and to not have any interest in children that play soccer? Or does council members and mayor pick or choose who they listen to only? I was only able to meet with council member Moran about concern, and that was all. Everyone else didn't even bother to answer. I also reached out to the council member Kang and Garcia in person when they reached out to me for their support to run as council members, but we never got any response or support from them.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Second topic, in last meeting of June 1st, field fees increased. On May 17th, I received a message from a parent saying they called the city and they were told that our organization was not being charged for fields. On June 1st, at city council meeting at hour 2 and 4 minutes 43 seconds, rec department proposed facility fees increase.
Hello, my name is Richard Alberto, and I speak on behalf of Ana Alberto and Livingston United. On June 6th, a parent called the city and asked about the fee proposal. He was told that there was an internal league issue that the city knew nothing about. I had paid receipts for field usages and asked then, where is my money going if the city is telling my parents we are being charged? But it's been taken out of our organization's bank account by the city of Livingston. Why are my parents getting false information? Why am I receiving emails and messages to pay before using the fields if we are supposedly not being charged? Example, I have received an email with fees for the basin, a whole usage for my practice days from May through June and 1 day of April, with the amount of $1,100. If you divide that by 3 months, that is $366 a month. If you multiply $366 times 12, it's $4,400, and that's not including scrimmages, games that needs to be scheduled, or using the upper field. But again, it is only a minimal fee.
All right, good evening. I'm also speaking on behalf of Ana Alberto and Livingston United. I lived by the complex and I would pay additional taxes to maintain those parks because everyone in that area pays additional taxes. Does that mean that our parents that live there need to double pay? I reached out to Congress to explain the situation and he advised me to first reach out to council. But again, as you can see, there was no response or interest other than Mr. Moran. Congress explained to me that the city received a good amount of money from COVID relief and that the city can use a small fund to help maintain fields, knowing we are all volunteers and nonprofit organization. After no response, Congress suggested to bring it up to council meeting and then they can get more involved. On hour 2, with 10 minutes, council member Soto addressed her concern as, quote, I did not notice the non-resident fee was reduced from 75 to just a little over 51%. I particularly don't care for that move. Then, at 2 hours, 10 minutes, and 33 seconds, she said, I'm only about youth sports. And the 2 hours and 11 minutes, she said, All but one met that criteria. At 2 hours and 12 minutes, 52 seconds, she said, "I'm not saying I don't want youth, I want youth." Maybe I'm wrong, but please help me understand my interpretation of the last meeting. Was there more concern on a specific sport than the youth in general? I think every sport is unique in their own way, and some are seasonal and others are year-round. Council, please help me understand. Are you more concerned about the money that is coming in or helping children succeed in their dream, or is there more concerned about money and prefer having a child be in streets doing something else? But again, like I said, we don't change home plate, but again, like it was said, we don't change home plate or strike zone just to accommodate. At the second hour and 14 minutes, Council Member Soto asked, what groups are serving them? Reserving them. Livingston United was one of them. Let me address something I think a council member should have been aware of us. I was confused about the council member is what their responsibilities are. Can you please confirm the following research? 2 key responsibilities. A council member is a member who responds to the constituent needs and complaints equally and fairly. A council member is someone who represents the community, and it is open to comments equally and fairly. And is this correct? Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Anna. Okay. I have personally invited to meet the parents of the children that never was taken care of. You asked if we were competitive. Let me give you the definition about Livingston United competitive and what it means, the rules and taught games of the games. You are being, in Livingston United, you're being developed, grow, and succeed your dream as a soccer player. We're giving children the opportunities that give a dream to reach their goal. Council should feel proud that kids are coming into Livingston. At 2 hours and 15 minutes, council member asked, who is in charge of the competitives? Again, if you were taking the time of all those times I invited you, maybe you would have known. It surprises me, I invited you personally in front of council at meeting on April 20th at 7 minutes and 17 seconds was the last time I personally invited you. At that meeting, at 5 minutes and 8 seconds, I told you who I run, what I was, and what I did. Let me give you a little explanation about Livingston United definition about caring. 2 of our kids were chosen to play in the MLS team in the Bay Area. 5 of them playing in the top academy, and 1 girl is playing ENCNL right now, representing Livingston. They are 9 to 12 years old. When we were recruited by those organizations, we were not asked where we were from. We were not labeled in our forehead saying a sign that says you're not from our town. They paid a full scholarship to all our kids to continue their dream. Do you know what it feels like for a group of kids of Livingston in playing academic in top academies and MLS, such as a young age? Councilmember Soto asked about lights. I wanted to inform you that we did use the lights 3 weeks because we didn't have where to practice. If you think this is a liability issue, Ms. Soto, maybe you can give me another option, where to go or where to practice in the dark with the kids, with the lights, to keep the kids active, if you are concerned so much about the youth. But again, you decided not to come. But when you decide to come and meet with our staff, players, and parents, maybe you could give me that better option. So I have a question for you. If you saw us out there that day, why didn't you stop by if it was such a concern for you, such a liability concern for you? I would if I was concerned. Please evaluate the situation and look at the concerns about increasing fees for nonprofit organizations who all they do is fulfill the kids' dream. Maybe a small amount is not a lot, but at the end of the year, it adds up. Please let me know if you would like us to end our organization, Ms. Soto, so we can best notify our parents. We are already struggling with recovering from COVID. To on top, get parents stressed about the opportunity for kids to keep themselves educated and fulfill their dream. I talked to the cities, and they work with nonprofit organizations and how to work together to support each other. Why can't Livingston do the same? My intention is not to be disrespectful, but I really need to have an organization herd equality. Can you please answer my question, Ms. Soto?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Darlene Ingersoll, the Merced County Register of Voters, and I'm here to share some information with the public. The Elections Department is formally transitioning to the Voters' Choice Act this year and is effective with the governor recall election in 2021. The Voters' Choice Act is intended to modernize elections in California by allowing counties to conduct elections under a new model which provides greater flexibility and convenience for voters, and changing election laws to reflect trends towards voting by mail and allowing polling places to be replaced with voting assistance centers. The new election model allows a voter to choose how, when, and where to cast their ballot by mailing every active registered voter a ballot, which can be returned by postage-free mail, elections office, secure drop boxes, or at any voting assistance center in the county. The draft election administration plan is posted in 6 languages on our website. The period for the public to submit comments on the draft election administration plan is June 28th, 2021 through July 13th, 2021. Comments may be submitted in writing, email, or in person. There is a public hearing scheduled for July 13th, 2021 at 6 p.m. in the Merced County Board of Supervisors chambers. The public hearing notice is also posted on our website in 6 languages. The Registrar of Voters will consider any comments and then publish the amended draft election administration plan on July 19th, 2020 and adopt the final plan on August 3rd. Please visit our website at www.mercedelections.org. Again, that's mercedelections.org, or email us at elections@countyofmerced.com. Again, elections@countyofmerced.com, or contact us at 209-385-7541. 385-7541. We do have a toll-free number also, which is 1-800-561-0619. 1-800-561-0619. It's a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Citizen comments?
Good evening, Council and citizens. At one of our previous budget workshops, the topic of a spay and neuter program had come up, and I had actually mentioned that we probably needed to do a little bit more research before moving forward on that item as a budget item. So I took the liberty of doing the research myself, and as I had mentioned, the California Department of Food and Agriculture does offer a grant that is available to municipalities. The information I handed to council is readily available to the public on the cdfa.gov website. So this kind of outlines what the grant entails, what the requirements are, and then the second page that I provided is actually the list of award recipients that received it. As you can see, there are local municipalities who have received that grant money. But one thing that I did notice upon reviewing this is that this grant is particularly for municipalities that already have an existing program. This funding for 21-22, the 2021-22 fiscal year is already closed, but it does give us a good opportunity to start the program now so that when we do have the opportunity to apply for funding for 22-23, we are prepared and ready to go. As outlined here in front of you, as I mentioned, the program does already need to be existing, and the funds that are awarded are used to supplement and not replace. So I wanted to present this to council because it would be a good opportunity for further research, not by me, to be done. As far as I know the allotted dollar amount that was discussed was $5,000. But if we're going to be receiving the $7,500, which is what municipalities typically receive, it might behoove us to invest a little less in the beginning, because I don't know if at a later date we would be able to reduce that and still qualify for the $7,500. So I would ask that council or staff do that research into those types of restrictions, and definitely consider allocating some of the city funds to start the pilot program to put us in a good position to receive this grant. I know a lot of people consider it, distribution of funds, taking from some to give to, assist the others. But the reality is that we're in a community and we need to look out for each other. So those city funds would be put to good use. And this grant program is actually put together by voluntary tax contributions. So these are individuals just wanting to help, pets, just like Councilmember Moran and hopefully all of us here today. Thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you. Any other comments on the phone? Okay, we'll bring it back to council. Our next item is consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered routine or non-controversial and will be enacted by one vote unless separate action is requested by city manager or city council member. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the council or city manager request that specific items be removed. So we have one item, ratify the warrant register dated June 10th, 2021. Motions?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
A second. We get roll call?
Roll call, Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Councilmember Moran?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
Yes.
Mayor Aguilar?
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 4-0.
And we tabled our discussion item for the next meeting. Now, council direction on future agenda items. Any?
If I may. Well, just real quick, before I get into the future agenda items, I do want to say thank you to everyone that makes the effort to participate in public comment. And then I'm not going to apologize for the council, but I'm going to apologize for myself to the residents for making them stay here this long to be able to participate in public comment. Once again, I have to reiterate the importance of public comment and my desire for more residents to participate and to move this earlier in the agenda, because it's already 10:30. They've been here, for 3.5 hours just to participate. And so just, thank you for everyone that makes that effort. And the rest of the community, I'm sure they appreciate you making that effort. In regards to the future agenda items, I want to make this to be put in a future agenda item, since I've been asking for since January, and I don't think now one item has been there, but I'll keep on asking. And to move the public comments earlier in the agenda with the approval of the council. 2, and I'm not sure if this needs to be looked into by staff, but I want to look at the possibility, the cost, what it would cost to have all of the commission's meetings streamed in YouTube, including that will be the Rec Commission and the Planning Commission. And then if it's something that can be considered before we approve the budget, or if it needs to be approved first by the council. I don't know what the process is. And I also want the council to consider in a future agenda item, not so later, but to consider to bring it to council to have a social host ordinance that will help the different agencies in the city tackle the fireworks problem in the city. And the next item, I do want to support that recommendation by one of the residents regarding a town hall meeting related to the, whenever the time comes for the interview of the possible law firms to be considered by this council. And that will be it at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have 4 items, is that correct? Okay. Anybody else, any other items?
Also, if you can bring back those items in regards to the use agreements, the terms with the child development centers that we have, also the senior center and the other property next door. Also tonight, very popular council member tonight, so I want to thank everybody for their comments. Again, I heard you. I also heard my words back. So again, I'm here to serve you, and I will definitely do my best. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments by council at this time? Okay, so at this time, we're going to go ahead and adjourn at 10:30 p.m. Thank you.